Start cameras. And we're live.
All right. So I say welcome to you.
Yeah. I'll be the host. I don't have the cool square.
I just gotta say, everybody, real quick, that we're growing. New intro, new setup.
It's
Who this?
Sexy, guys.
That looks good.
Second. Also, we have a guest, Jess. She's here.
You may have seen her in one of our one shots a month or two back. Well, yeah, I'll be leading. This is a free session. Every once in a while, every few weeks, we wanted to do kind of a free session, take a break from the game, hang out, talk about D&D or tabletop-related stuff. And today, we're going to talk about the OGL a little bit. There was some news that posted maybe 5 hours ago. Just take some hot takes, some conversation about it, and then do some world building. We started a new campaign, Dithra, or Dithra. And we've kind of built this world, but we wanted to kind of do a collaborative effort, just world building. I know Jay hasn't done it in the past. Jess, you've done some world building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. It's fun. We're going to make it collaborative. Val will have final say in the matter, but I'll be arbitrating. So I'm going to guide that whole process, but we'll get into the first things first, which is the OGL. There was a post on D&D Beyond. I'm going to pop that up on the screen for everybody now. And then I'll get it in front of my face so I can read it. So there's a post by Kyle Brink, who is, I believe, a executive producer. Yep.
Executive producer.
Posted on D&D Beyond. This is the exact link here. And it's titled OGL 1.0A and Creative Commons. I'm going to kind of skip this first piece here. Basically, it says, we hear you guys. Enough of you caused an uproar. It's been all over the internet. I'm sure every single one of you D&D nerds like us have seen it everywhere. Everyone's got a hot take. Everyone has their opinion. There's leaks and blah, blah, whatever. A lot of people are taking this as a win. But to summarize it, they said, we hear you. And the feedback is clear. And so the direction that they say they're taking is we are leaving OGL 1.01 in place as is, untouched. We are also making the entire SRD 5.1 available under a Creative Commons license, which we'll get into in a second. And then you choose which you prefer to use as a content creator, third party, whomever, homebrewer. And so it goes on to say that this Creative Commons license makes the content freely available for any use. We don't control that license and cannot alter or revoke it. It's open and irrevocable in a way that doesn't require you to take our word for it. That's pretty big. I guess the last couple iterations, it's like, we got it, promise, guys. But this way, now that, and its openness means that there's no need for a VTT policy. Placing the SRD under a Creative Commons license is a one-way door. There's no going back. Our goal here is to deliver on what you wanted. So what about the goals that drove us when we started this process? They go on to say some fluff. But basically, we hear you. We're grateful for the community that you're passionate about it. We wanted to limit the OGL to tabletop RPGs. With this new approach, we are setting that aside and counting on your choice to define the future of play. And they go ahead and link the PDF of SRD 5.1 with the Creative Commons license. And they say, by simply publishing it, we place it under an irrevocable Creative Commons license. They're going to get it hosted in a more convenient place next week, probably on their main page. But I'll click this guy, and it's right here for any use. And it looks like your classic PHV format. You've got the races. The whole thing. I won't get into the PHP. You guys know this. It looks 5th edition. So they've locked it down. They put it. So I guess I'll bring it back to you guys. What are your thoughts? Anybody? First takes.
Val's itching. I can tell. Look at that face.
I would like to wait until the end.
He's that meme from behind the tree.
I'm literally like, I am ready, Sith Lord. Let me just show you. I've been training for this.
Well, Jay, what were you talking about the movie? We were talking before stream.
I mean, one of the things I was sitting there thinking about is, at the end of the month, you have the D&D movie coming out, and let's face it, in the past, D&D movies, D&D cartoons have been shit. No other way to say it.
Damon Wayans had a compelling.
Yeah, I mean,
Performance.
but look at it like the previews for this. You know, Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez. Like, it looks like it's going to be somewhat decent, but I'm wondering, is the damage done? Like, are people just going to not go see it just to spite, even if they feel they've won, right? That the community's won with this new release, are they still just to spite them going to go, fuck it, we're not going to go see the movie and let it bomb, and then we're going to go another 20-25 years with no decent D&D, media besides potential tabletop, books and things like that. It could happen. That's people are spiteful, right?
Yeah.
I think I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are going to see it anyway, because I think D&D has had this resurgence, right? And like, I'm a relatively new player. I've only been playing for the last 4 years. So for me, like, I'm sort of part of that newer wave of players and fans. And now there's this whole nother wave because of things like Stranger Things and this movie that is very like approachable for non D&D player people. Like, it's sort of fun fantasy, and that appeals to like a broader audience. And I think all of those new players who've just heard of it or just kind of getting into it, they don't know any of this history or the drama, or they don't understand any of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's still going to be this fan base. And I think that's one of the things I saw as someone who, again, like, okay, I feel like a veteran now. Like, I run my own West Marches server. I world build. I DM. I fell hard, but I felt relatively new in comparison to a lot of other people who've been playing for 15, 20 years. But as someone who's kind of in that middle ground between new and veteran, one of the things that I saw that was a little like worrisome over the last months, year, whatever, is like a lot of gatekeeping by people who have been in the game for a long time. And so I'm sure those people are still going to be like, we're not going to see it, and like tar and feather the whole thing. But I think that is a small, very loud vocal minority.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I hope so.
I think the movie will do fine, because you're right. It's like massively marketable. All right, Val.
Well, it's massive. One more sentence. Massively marketable, and it'd be nice to get like something decent
good.
that is consistent. You know what I mean?
Some hopeful thinking.
What's your hot take here?
All right.
Bring the hot take out.
All right, so hot take number 1, right? So if you look in the post, he said 15,000 people submitted their survey responses, right? So if you look at D&D Beyond's supposed subscription amount, it was like 10 million, right? And that's just to sign up online to D&D Beyond. So if only 15,000 people responded to a game that has a player base of millions, then I'd be more disappointed. It is a very small vocal minority of people, because 15,000 isn't 20 million, or even a sizable enough portion to where it actually would affect the movie sales. Whether the movie flops or is a success all depends on if they can market it well, and if the movie gets decent reviews when it releases. But I don't think it hinges upon the OGL, and people saying that I think is either disingenuous, or they don't know like that the vast majority of people that play D&D are not glued to online communities.
Yeah, it's the same idea with the Marvel movies, right? Like, every comic book nerd guy who is griefing over the inaccuracies of but that wasn't it. It was kids, young teens, adults. They just want to have fun, a little bit of escapism. It's got some big names, a big a production company behind it. It looks just like fun fantasy. And I think D&D as an IP is just kind of far exceeded. Jay, let me swap you around. You flashed out for a second. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Jess is now the DM.
Oh.
You got the big box.
That'll work. That'll work.
Again, one take, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's good. We do this live. I don't think it's going to impact the movie. I think it's going to rise or fall on its own merits. We will see. Though I will say this, Val, I don't necessarily agree that 15,000 subscriptions. We're talking about subscriptions versus just free account signups. It's clearly enough to that they had to make multiple statements. Big executive producers don't put out a statement like this. They don't get the legal team involved if real money's not talking. So I do love it when the little guy wins, like the GameStop stuff. This is the kind of story I think people really rally against.
So I think John, I agree with you in that I wonder, the question would be okay, if there's 15,000 respondents to the survey, how many did they send out?
Well, it went. I mean, I got the email too, and so I think it was anyone who had a paid subscription for sure got it, and then I don't know if anybody who had an account also got it, but for sure the paid subscriptions we all got.
Well, I would say I know I don't have a paid subscription to D&D Beyond, but I am a subscriber, just a free account. And there was nothing that was ever sent.
Yeah,
to me
I
on
didn't
it.
either. So,
but the other thing too is when this OGL first dropped, you're talking 15,000 respondents of respondents who are subscribed to D&D Beyond, which means still subscribed, because how many people dropped their subscription after the OGL originally dropped?
And it was enough that they put everything on pause and so I mean, if nothing else, this does show that when there's real money on the line, like there were enough people paying that either drop the subscription or threaten to, that it made the impact. And so that's something to be said for the fan base, that there is power in having, those paid accounts. Like they do listen to that, because that's their main money. And if their big complaint was that we're not making money off of this because there's all of this homebrew or third party or whatever, then D&D Beyond is where they make their money. And so if that was what got hit, then that's why they had to sort of shut up for a second and be like, okay, maybe we should rethink this approach.
Well, okay, I think this is my opinion. I'm a Magic the Gathering player as well, so I can kind of speak to the both duality parts of Hasbro. And this is where I say I don't think this is this slam dunk victory or a victory that people talk about. I just think this really applies to, in my opinion, applies to 5th edition. And then as soon as one D&D comes out, it's going to be a different OGL. This affects everything from here back. But I don't think this is the OGL for one D&D is going to be under this, in my opinion.
Well, the thing about that though is if that's the take that they decide to do, right? And one D&D comes out, all of a sudden now we're back to the OGL 1.1.
Well,
the way the community handled it right now, if that happens, you will end up seeing one D&D flop.
I think
it won't flop.
It think if they want to do this the right way, and honestly, Hasbro is a corporation. They are a business. They need to make money. They have investors. They pay people salaries. They keep people. There's a lot involved. If they want to do it, they should have done it on the virtue of their VTT and the service. If the service is best in class, it's going to make money, and you can monetize that like a video game easily. People will spend copious amounts of money for for skins, for cool avatars and name borders and all of the cosmetic stuff. They can do it. And if you make it the premier VTT, the premier character creation sheet, which it's a great service. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do very well. Then it doesn't matter. Then you have the, you have creators wanting to do it. And then you just take a piece of that. You don't have to worry about stuff published outside of it. It's like, hey, if you want to host your stuff and sell it through our marketplace, we're going to take a piece, and no one would bat an eye because they understand. And that's the thing. Like, had they just really believed in themselves, or at least believed in the product, and not done this bonehead tactic, it would have been fine. It would have been business as usual. People were like, you're a corporation trying to make money. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they thought
I think you
this one out.
I think you hit on something. I think you hit on something though with the VTT like blockchain microtransaction style like VTT. Like if you really think about it, okay, if you get a true long form campaign with a group of people that you've been playing with for a while, there's enough people that play these mobile games that sit there and $2.99, right? So I think you if they do it right, you would. And I was talking with another buddy about this the other day. If they do it right with that like blockchain microtransaction, okay, you build your character, you pay $1.99 to have your character 3D modeled for the VTT, right? Boom, now you have your character the way you put it in with all this AI and everything that they have going on, the AI whatever pictures and all that. You're gonna get a 3D like model for your VTT. Okay, now 5 levels later, you get a staff of the woodlands. You drop it over into your character sheet. It pops into the hand of it like a see-through image pops into the hand of your character for $2.99. You can have the staff of the woodlands on your character on the VTT. If people will fucking click that button, yes.
Because when you think about like, right, that especially since a lot of D&D has moved since the pandemic has moved online, people aren't buying like the minifigures that they used to, or like all of the sort of tangible things that used to be a part of the game, which was always a big investment. This hobby has always been an expensive hobby. If you really wanted to get all of the sort of bits and bobs that come with it potentially. And so now this is just replacing all of those pieces, right? Like you get the digital version of your minifigures instead of the tangible versions of the minifigures. And I think people, I can say that I wouldn't maybe think about it if I was like really into that campaign or that character that like, okay, $1.99 here, $2.99 here, like, okay.
Where they fucked up is had they just allowed it to kick off that way and people who created content use it as a platform, they could have just used the platform, take a little bit off the top, and no one would have batted an eye. Third party people would go flocking to make custom skins and models and all kinds of stuff. And WotC could have just taken 2%, 3%, whatever, and just been making money hand over fist.
2%.
It's a casino,
or whatever it is.
They could have done it like a casino rake, man. They just look at it and said, okay, for every, $5, we're taking $1. People wouldn't have said a fucking word.
You could do WotC bucks where you had to get points, right? You have to buy gold coins for $100 and you use those gold coins. There's so many ways they could have monetized it, but to step on third-party creators in this way, one, they weren't even going to make any money, and two, it just was a bad look, and I think left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And we'll see. Ultimately, I think Hasbro will be just fucking fine.
I don't know what. Okay, but this is okay.
It'll be just
all right.
fine.
So I've heard some of the responses here. For me, a couple of key points that relates to the OGL for me is a lot of people in this space is framing it as if these changes hurt the community, in my opinion, and it really doesn't affect but like 0.00001% of the community, because those are the only people that create content for like sale. The vast majority of people in the community do not, one, make content for sale, two, actually buy third party content. That's like the one reason. So I think it's disingenuous to frame it that way. Yes.
Can I make one comment? So if I think about that, and I think it was the principles on which they made that like stand. If a marginalized group, let's say, I'm going to get a little political, but a marginalized group like trans people were affected. It is 0.001% or whatever it is of the group. They're being affected. It doesn't make it any less wrong. And I think it was a moral stand. You're right. It doesn't.
Okay. Let me Can I redress that point? Okay. What I'm saying is this, right? Okay. My stance of things is to always come from the stance of if you want to make something, you should make something competitive to compete in the market for it. The biggest thing is that one, D&D has a near monopoly on the tabletop space. That is an undeniable fact. It owns maybe like 75% of the market space for tabletop RPGs. Okay, cool. So these third-party content creators decided instead of making their own game to compete in the space with D&D, they would be beholden to the whims of a corporation, Hasbro, to make sure that they didn't do any fuckery. That is insane to me. Why would you, just because it's a safer bet, be beholden to the corporate whims of a company that can change without any of your input? As a third-party contractor for D&D, you have no say into what Hasbro does at all. They can do whatever the fuck they
Val,
want.
have you ever had a job?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's the same thing. Fire
But
your
it's
ass tomorrow.
but it's not the thing thing, bro. Because they're not officially hired by.
But well, I
Hasbro.
think they did it under good. I think the big thing was like it was under good faith. It had been long standing for 20 years.
But business models change though. Like it changes
Sure.
in 20 years.
And so does, but that I don't know if that makes it any better.
Less moral.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. People can stand up for what they want and
They can.
unionize and do whatever.
Absolutely. I'm not saying
And people can still at this point be like, whatever, you already burned that bridge and,
Right. And walk
wash
away.
their hands of it. Like that option still exists. It's not like all is forgiven. And
Yeah.
I'm also very much like, people tend to have a very short attention span and memory. And 10 years down the road, when we forget about this and there's a new generation of players, like who knows if they're going to try it again or some iteration of it again,
Yeah.
maybe with, one D&D, like that there's some sort of version for that piece. There's like a lot of options there, but I do think with like, in terms of the third party and how it would affect the community, I think, and again, this is from me coming as a player who I started in the pandemic. My only experience has been online. And so when I think about that and now running my server, that I pay for the D&D Beyond subscription and I pay for like the highest tier on Roll20 and like all of these things that I put the money in so that my players we can have like everything we need. And if they start sort of nickel and diming all of those third parties, the first thing they're going to do is raise the prices on us, right? Like Roll20 is going to increase like for the yearly subscription, or, I buy third party material. I really like Kobold Press's stuff. Like the Grim Hollow stuff has been really great. And I have several of the Kobold Press, like monster books and stuff.
Yep.
And so the first thing they're going to do is going to jack up the price, right? And then that is going to limit accessibility for a lot of players in a hobby that already costs money to start with, and with it going online has democratized that in a lot of ways where each individual doesn't necessarily have to put out that money if you have like a couple people within the group who put the money out, right? That there's a way to like democratize access to all of the material. And if all of those prices start going up, then you lose a huge fan base who just can't afford it, right? Who can't afford to pay all of those subscription fees and all of the costs for books.
Competition's always driven the market. The best person will come out on top. And so it was just a weird ploy. I just don't think they thought it all the way through.
No. Because Hasbro's they're a toy company. They're not looking at it from the perspective this is a community of players that get together and do this thing. They're looking at this is a toy that I can sell. Like
they just don't
approaching it
and
from
the other
a
side, like
perspective.
especially when you start talking about the numbers in that OGL too, when you're talking 25% of typically what it is affecting is publication, right? Like it's not affecting
it's net revenue. It's like everything. It's 25% off the top before taxes, I believe.
Well, right, but most of the third party. So here's the thing: like you can't necessarily look at if somebody is streaming a game. OGL isn't necessarily going to cover a stream game because you're buying the material to use, right? You've already bought the material to use. You are not writing a game for them at that point. You are writing a game for yourself and then filming it. That would be like IKEA going to a sitcom and saying, you have to now pay us 25% of everything the sitcom makes because our furniture is in your sitcom.
Well, I think that
it doesn't work.
I think that was the thing. It was unprecedented, and most people, some of the
I wouldn't say unprecedented. Hold on.
No,
I wouldn't say unprecedented.
Hold on, unprecedented in that this hasn't gone to court, therefore there's no precedent because they couldn't rule on the IP because we don't know. It just never got that far, and I think that's kind of like people just aren't sure. And you see like Paizo and Cobalt Press, they said, fuck D&D. We're going to make our own D&D. It's going to be better.
yeah.
And it's going to have hookers and blackjack.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Right.
we're out. But I don't know.
But it still makes sense, because if you think of it that in that way, 25% of a publication of a book, that company's now like Cobalt Press, of everything that they've made. If you look at all their books, they're not making a 25% profit.
Yeah, I'm sure their
Period.
margins.
It's not
are-
a 20.
Or
The
raise it
margins are so tight. So if you sit there and say, okay, Cobalt Press, you made this book and you sold $1 million worth of this book, you owe us $250,000. Off of that book, they might have only made $5,000. So now all of a sudden they're owing $245,000 for, because because I'm throwing numbers out.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
giving
yeah.
you
I
the
know.
specific
I'm
numbers.
just saying.
I think the
I'm
money
just-
part was the least
Yeah,
egregious part
because-
of it.
yeah,
That part I didn't care. I'm like, yeah, they're going to make money. And it affected, like you said, not that
Well,
many people. The big thing is we can
People
take
got mad
it-
about
it-
the money too, though.
There was a lot of people that got mad about the money for the reason I just said, was it could put these
A
third
lot
parties
of those
completely
third
out of
parties
business.
are probably not making as much as
Okay.
Hasbro thinks that they are.
Right.
A lot
Well-
of third party yeah, okay, so you have like
Paizo, Cobalt
Paizo and all
Press.
of those sort of big guys, but I think a lot of the little guy, like they are just sort of like making content and then like here it is for $10.99 or like
And
here's
DM's Guild
this-
takes half. I
Yeah.
think people
Yes, so,
forget.
yes, so, yeah. That's what I was trying to get references
And
to that to
DM's
say
Guild
that.
takes
Yeah,
half.
yeah. That's what I'm
The
saying.
money
'cause-
part was the least egregious part of it. I think the thing is, when you create it under this license, we can take it,
and call it ours.
call it ours. We don't
Yeah.
have
that
to
I
pay
didn't
you
agree
shit.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
that I
where
didn't
I
agree.
drew. I think that for me,
Yeah.
that was the big moral argument. If they wanted a piece, I get it. D&D, they do all the marketing. They put all of the stuff out. They
I agree with
invest,
that.
and people are writing the coattails of that. Sure, but that piece was where I definitely am like, I can't stand by it. And I
So,
won't have
I
it.
agree
then you
with
do
that.
it. So then you do it no different than like hotels and shit. You franchise it. You franchise the name out and say, okay, you're gonna pay us
Sure.
a licensing fee to use the license.
And people don't want to pay
You're-
that.
You can put out as much.
But
You
I
can put out
think
as much
they
content as you want, but it's $10,000 a year.
But I think
have
they
that
would
already, though.
have.
People don't want
but
to pay that though.
I think they would have, though. I think a lot of it was approach, right? It was just this thing that was, leaked or whatever, but that they played it like, oh, it was a draft. I'm like, I don't think that was a lot of legal
That's fair.
schmeagle
Yeah,
for it
yeah,
to be a
no,
draft.
It
you
wasn't.
know?
It wasn't a draft.
Well, they had
That's-
full
Especially
on.
Yeah.
right, especially
yeah,
when
that's
some of
cap.
those companies came forward and said like, no, we got this, like we're supposed to like review it with our lawyers or whatever. And so I think a lot of the issue is just the way they did it. I don't think
That's fair.
anyone, it's like, yeah, like whatever, it's capitalism. They want to make a buck. They see that there's like this market who's making money off of their base content and they want a piece of it. I think that makes perfect sense for any corporation to want to do. But I think there's a way to do it that doesn't villainize those content creators who a lot of them started off as just like hobbyists and then figured out they could make money off of it, I think especially with the rise in popularity amongst sort of like lay people that
Yeah.
are not sort of traditional
Yeah.
tabletop gamers, that for us it's like, okay, I don't understand what's any of this is happening and why are you yelling at us, and so I think there was like a way to do it where they could have gotten what they wanted, or at least some of what they wanted, without looking like some like cartoon villain, which is really what they looked like.
Yeah, they're
Well,
Send
this
it out
is-
to all the
spiraling
third
their
parties.
mustache,
Well,
telling people.
all right.
to-
Sign
All
this in
right.
2 weeks and send it back to us. Like,
So
that's
this is-
exactly what they were doing.
Mhm.
I agree with a lot of what you said, especially the whole like owning somebody else's content in perpetuity. I mean, that's why I have a more neutral stance because, like I said, people are using Witcher's content, air quotations, in perpetuity without paying anything. That's why I take that stance. So if Wizards owning somebody else's content, I don't agree with that at all either. And I'm not a Hasbro fanboy. I'm a Magic player, so I really don't like Hasbro. But I think it's a lot more nuanced than what people are giving this fucking this topic. Like, in my opinion, and I'm about to get political like fucking like John over here. In my opinion, I think a lot of people that make third-party content that also happen to be YouTubers, I'm calling names as well too, use the massive mishap of the OGL fucking owning perpetuity shit to kind of protest not wanting to have to pay that 25%. In my opinion, I think it was a dual dual purpose thing. I think that okay, we're gonna hit him with this OGL shit, bam, and also we're not paying 25% either. Fuck that shit. And that's what happened because look at now, there is no royalties, no cut at all, and look at Warhammer. I don't know any other IP that allows you to sort of kind of use it without paying any royalties at all, except Wizards of the Coast. That shit is insane to me.
Oh, if this were Disney,
yes,
I mean we'd be in internet jail,
Nintendo,
in real life jail.
but at least Disney's been that way
Wait,
forever.
now that you say
And so
that,
you know.
you got to move a couple of those things off your couch in the background.
Yeah,
Hey, I pay the mouse, all right?
You pay the monthly subscription.
I pay my mouse blood money. It's okay.
Monthly subscription. Yeah.
I live in LA. I go to Disneyland all the time. They get theirs from me. Don't worry about it.
I think we talk. I think that's as much as we're probably going to squeeze out of this one. Any final thoughts before we move on to some fun, creative stuff?
I was getting started.
He's like, I'm just getting started.
So, no, I'm playing.
Yeah, you go, because I do have a last thought too.
All right, so one,
Closing
I'll say
statements.
this. Okay, I'll close it up. All right, here we go. All right, so me, I'm more neutral towards it. Guys, if you make content on D&D Wiki and post your fucking ninja subclass on D&D Wiki, they're not gonna take your thing down and own your Ninja Turtle subclass, guys. Guys, this, in my opinion, doesn't affect the vast majority of the community. Keep doing what you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you to subscribe or not subscribe or support or not support anything. Do what you want to do. This is America. Live your life how you want to live it. If you live in America. If not, then I'll take it.
To piggyback off that, I do think, again, like I want to kind of reiterate for like the people who've been in the game for a really long time and thinking about like this sort of new wave of players who are like either dabbling or like really falling into it, that like gatekeeping is not cool. Like you don't own it. Like there's a million different ways to play this game. That's kind of the point. Like that was this whole debate about third party, is that there's no one right way to do it. And so sort of don't scare the newbies away, man. Like, because if you want this thing to survive the way it, like, you need fresh blood. Like that's how things continue. And so not to sort of dictate, that, you playing the game wrong or whatever, like that we should welcome new players, and whether they came here on their own from other games or because they watched Stranger Things or they saw the movie or like whatever brings them to the table, like we want them to stay at the table and have a reason to stay at the table regardless of how they got there.
That's fair. I agree with that.
Got anything, Jay?
The only thing I was in the back of my head, I've been thinking about this whole thing just from a business aspect. If y'all third parties really want to keep making content, just don't label it as D&D content. Label it as compatible with top tabletop RPG games on the market. And
wink,
now
wink,
you're around the
nudge.
OGL even if they change it. They want to legalize the OGL. Let's legalize the other side of it, and away you go. So there's my final thought.
Okay, I'm not gonna respond to it, guys, but yeah. So if you want another part 2 to this, just let us know, guys. We'll talk about it.
I've got a final thought.
Oh,
keep it
Jay.
quick.
Okay, John.
I'll keep
Okay,
it
go
quick.
ahead.
Stick it to the man, power to the people. Let's go.
That's American too. Good shit, man. Hey,
All right.
Well,
So we'll transition. I don't know how to do timestamps, so we're gonna have to figure out like timestamp this video. But we're gonna move into some world building. I know Jay. He hasn't done any world building. Jess has. Val has. I have. We all use our own different methods. But I've got a link. Just you want to send her the Roll20?
Yeah, I got you, bro. I got you. Go.
So, Val, do you want to kind of talk about what we know so far in the world?
Absolutely.
To kind of set the stage.
Let me go ahead and set the stage a little bit here, because I have a little. I think I told this to Jess, but I'll tell it to everybody here again. 1 second here. I have an actual description of this. 1 second. Okay. All right. So, let me just give you a little kind of backdrop sales pitch of Dether of the World. Kind of wrote down. So first off, just about the game itself. Dether is a game based off Knave, which is an OSR style game. Very light. The setting, Dether and 1001 Shards, is a world of setting based on a more sword and sorcery style game, which means that magic is extremely dangerous and rare. It's a lot less, it's a lot more lethal. Things you find, generally speaking, are out to kill you, and most non-humans are, typically speaking, aggressive towards humans for a variety of reasons. And it's also a lot more emphasis focused on what you do than a grandiose story. You very rarely save the world in sort of sorcery things. You mainly just save the community that you're in at the moment. So this world is filled with wondrous stars of divine power from a fallen god. It is said that the fallen god has fought a great evil, and then literally after defeating this great evil, fell into the earth and shattered into 1001 shards and spread across the entire plane, and basically all facets of it. People that collect these shards are shard bearers. These shards have the trap power of a god, so they have wondrous power that some shards even have the power to change and shape the world. And those that collect them have collected these shards, have used these shards to impose their will in the world, to become either to make kingdoms, to create dynasties, and to cause also massive atrocities as well. That being said, there are four major groups of people. Major means like the ones, there's subcultures, but these are the main ones. Westerners, Southerners, Easterners, Northerners. Southerners are a more chestnut, dark-skinned people that live in these oasis city-states in the South. They kind of live, think almost like a Roman Greek kind of inspired theme. Where they have these oligarchies,
City-states?
These city-states that are led by an emperor that controls the whole thing. You have the Westerners, the more free and open spirit people that are led by a theocracy, a group of three people that kind of lead the world's most popular religion. We'll get into that. They befriend large pigs that can talk. They love food, wine, and adventure almost as much as Easterners. Easterners are a seafaring people that use their giant iron bark boats from their iron bark trees that grew native to these islands to basically pillage and pirate and go on adventures to their whim. Pillaging and adventure are just two sides of the same coin to the culture of Easterners. Northerners are a tundra-based people that live in these massive taigas, riding on the backs of warg-like wolves that are massive. Think of Game of Thrones. And they live a very nomadic lifestyle, traveling along buffalo tracks to survive. They're warlike people. Only the strongest will survive. And those are kind of the major just drops of just the world for the most part. We can get a little bit more deeper.
That's good.
The map looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
I
want to shout out to Incarnate. That's what I used to create it. Great.
Yeah.
It's a great tool for anybody who's thinking about making custom maps, world maps, location maps, battle maps. It's awesome.
It's sexy.
Yeah.
It's sexy.
So what I was thinking is I've used this as a primer before. It's called the Weltenbau Wissen. It's German. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to put in the doobly-doo. There's a link for it. But it's a PDF. It's the list of world building questions. It's 90 questions that range from a bunch of different, main categories. I'm not going to go through the entire list in exhaustion, but I think we should start talking about some of this stuff. So the first thing I'm really curious about is the cosmology and metaphysics. And so there's 8 questions, and thinking about that. So we have the Northlands, where there's these kind of like steppe people, almost think of like the Mongolians, nomadic tribes. We have the Westerners, who are almost kind of like a classical, like European society. Easterners, who are, these island hopping people who live on archipelagos, and the Southerners, which are these they're the black Greek state. Now that's the idea.
Like
right?
Egyptian,
it's funny the way-
Egyptian Islamic.
You're saying chestnut, but chestnut
yeah,
is lighter skinned than the
Yeah.
people that we're talking.
But it's
Hold on. Well, hold on.
it's
Even
more
with
like
variety
it's like
tones,
it's
okay?
yeah, I'm sure.
it's
sure
like
they're-
Egyptian. It's like the Egyptian
They got
Indian-ish
melanin.
type of
Melanin.
which
Yeah, hold on.
so that
Hold on.
that immediately leads me to a question when you just look at the map, right? Like, are we looking at this? So the archipelago is for the Easterners, right?
Yeah.
That's not as dark as shit.
And then
I'm
the
sorry, go ahead.
Westerners, when you look at the big map, the Westerners are basically that big land mass all the way on the west of the map.
Yep.
And then your Northerners are going to be the northern island, Southerners are the southern island. Correct?
Exactly. That's generally it. There's different regions, which I think we can get into, like the subcultures and stuff. But let's start the big
the cosmology,
picture, the
right?
cosmology.
Yeah.
So
What you
first
wanna
question, and no idea is a bad idea. Let's brainstorm. What's kind of cool? What do we think? So we know that the world mythology somewhat is that there's these god shards. There's some kind of impact. It shattered, and these shards were kind of scattered across the land. So the first question on the primer is your world or its interstellar surroundings part of the known universe, or is it its own universe? So is there anything outside of... is this in our world, just like topsy-turvy, the upside down, or is this its own thing?
Okay. I should probably
we already know that
I
one.
should probably, yeah, I'm about to say, it is tier, and no other gods will be able, or not, like, because the Forgotten Realms is like that, where it intersects with all other facets of religion, because there's Norse, Egyptian, they all exist in the Forgotten Realms. This is kind of, because above table, there are other entities out there outside of the creator god that has obviously come because he fought a great evil and died. So yes, but it's not like Norse gods or anything like that.
So okay,
But but that's almost like saying, so there's the idea is that this, from listening to that question, you're almost saying like this is its own universe in the terms of what they believe. It's one universe, one place. We just only know about our place, and the whole continent or the whole plane, whatever, just believes in this one god that exploded, broke into shards.
Well, we haven't gotten that
Whoa,
far.
whoa,
yet.
whoa, no,
We haven't got that
not
far yet.
Not that far.
But yeah,
Got it.
we at least know that we don't have to worry about continuity issues. It's its own thing. So,
like, what about? I can't be.
so the next question is your universe a conventional one? Are there planets, solar systems, galaxies? How do they interact? Or does it differ significantly from ours? Is it a disk, a hollow world? Does the concept of a planet not even apply? What do you think in this? So for me, it seems like a planet. It follows of the geography of a planet.
But does it? But is the Forgotten Realm is also planar based too, right?
True.
Because so is it a plane or a planet? And I have no answer for that. That's the question that I'll pose to the people, because that promotes two different things.
I've never liked the idea of planes. I mean, I think it's interesting, but I don't know. If it were to me, I think it's a bit more grounded with the whole setting is magic light.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like it seems like most things should be more realistic, at least.
Right, because no one's fighting Eldritch entities, and you're not fighting Eldritch entities. I don't care how strong
it
you are.
seems like it should.
I feel like
that.
I feel like it's a planet sitting.
Right. I think that's fair.
So
that makes sense.
Conventional solar system.
Yeah, that won't apply ever.
Ish.
Yeah.
They have
That won't apply.
no
Like,
concept
have they-
of.
that doesn't matter.
Discovered astronomy.
It's well, like, I suppose it matters for like okay. It matters if there's like different suns. I haven't done that. So like suns and moons, that does matter.
It'll get. I think it builds up to that.
Okay, I'm just
I believe
making sure.
so.
I'm gonna say that does matter.
So is there a connection between our reality and that of your world? A parallel?
No.
Not. We already kind of. It's like rehashing, not any kind of damn connection. I'm making notes.
Oh, please, God. No.
Connection. All right.
Oh, please, God, no.
So this is the big one, right? How was the world created? was an astrophysical event like the Big Bang, the work of cosmic
This
entities
about to be
like
some spoilers.
gods?
It's about to be some spoilers, but I can spoil it for you.
Was it a combination of both?
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't have all of
What's
this.
your
I just
world
have
myth?
the fucking nugget. We can expand upon this as a group. But the biggest thing is that the creator god was basically all things in the universe, all the energies kind of combined into one that gained sentience and then became the creator god itself. Same way how like cells grouped together, then eventually became an actual like thinking, living, breathing organism.
So it's like,
This all,
is it monotheistic or is this like
yeah. It's only
is this
it's
the one God?
it came and then it well, I will say this this isn't the only world, so that this kind of lead into the solar system thing. Because he did have test runs before. It's not he or she is neutral, but it had test runs before and they didn't go so well. So so it kind of created the world after testing out certain things, environments, things like that, and getting an understanding of how creating things work, and then created Dethra. And that's kind of how it happened. Was through trial and error through other planets that would probably be in the solar system. Now that I think about it, just floating. What do y'all think about that? Did that suck or not?
I just need some clarification on what it. So, this God was created by like the ambient energies of the universe. So this is not the God that created the universe. This is a God that emerged from the universe. So there's something above this God.
Yes.
So, okay. So this God.
Or if anything is at all, it doesn't have to be something above him. He just exists from the universe.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be.
Is it like a like a panpsychism type, like the universe is the God type of thing? Is this a part of the God? I guess what is the distinction?
Between the universe and the God itself, or between the universe and it creating itself?
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the God you're talking about created the planet, but not the universe that the planet resides in. So then the question is, does it really matter? Then if the focus is on the planet and that story, then it may or may not matter how the universe itself got there.
That's true. That makes sense. I guess to that point, are there any cultures that believe in something different, or is this kind of the crux of all creation story?
No. So no. Because I mean, time and culture makes people believe different things, even if it is the same truth.
There's a section on culture, but in general, are they drawing all the same kind of parallels? Like
basically, all of the main societies in the world do believe that, at least fundamentally, there was a God, created the plane, and then fell. And then once we get to the fell part, that's where different cultures and things lie. But they agree on that.
Which we've already seen just from the descriptions you have of the 4 northern, southern, eastern, westerners with.
So God emerged from universe, created the planets, and fell. We keep it as simple as that. At the very least, we know in this cosmology, there is a God for sure. This isn't like a myth. This is factual events. Okay, cool. I think we can skip that question.
And the next one.
Are the alternate planes? Yeah, we got there. Are the gods
basically? I just said that.
Well, also
the silver hill is sick, dude.
Yeah. Are the gods being who are able to significantly influence or alter reality? Okay, so we know that this God has fallen and shattered and different. Is there? Does the God have any machinations? Is there any influence from the God on the land and the people?
So this is something that I've kind of been toying with myself. And this is kind of a spoiler alert. So there's be some spoilers here about the world, but it's fine. All shards, once they've kind of been like bonded to a person, because shards bond with people that find them. Yeah. They seek other shards to come together, right? So I guess a machination would be to all the shards to become one.
So is that the will of the God kind of influencing people?
I would say so. If you own the shard, there is a draw because even in the world itself, shard bearers are
So
whether it be through luck.
you're almost looking at it like from the top down in that regard. So the shards being the god want to come back together for whatever reason. Nobody, you may have a reason in your head that's stuck in your head, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the idea though, is the shards are the god, which you've said.
So this
The
god,
whole idea is he wants to be brought back together.
so this god influences reality. So this isn't like a subtle pull. This is an actual. I imagine
Yes,
maybe there's a
yes,
snowball
yes,
effect.
yes,
There's
yes.
27 shards that get,
Like almost like
the more
predetermination. Almost. Yeah. Like it's almost like predetermination. Once you accept the shard, it's almost like guaranteed that you'll meet one. Like people that have shards are a lot more likely to meet other people that have shards, and that's kind of been like noted. Almost like
gravity. The more there is, it draws upon other bodies
Correct.
of mass.
Bigger magnets.
Yeah.
On other, but it's never as well. I guess as far as we know, there's no specific reason, but you can kind of
like
you can
infer.
kind of infer that's like
And then I guess you'd have to think about like how specific is his, like, is it just sort of like a natural like magnetic pull, like they just sort of find themselves, or is there like actual like meddling happening?
Does it
you know?
manifest in like dreams or
It manifests in reality. So the biggest thing is right. It's almost like, I'm not sure if Highlander is the right terminology I'm going to use, but it's like things happen that would not normally happen as conveniently to get you in the position to meet other people that have shards, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, like let's say if John had a shard, so John would be like, oh, so I have a new brother in Virginia and I got to go see him, and I have a shard. Like, okay, I gotta go to the airport because I gotta do a job there, and at the same time, like it's unnatural things happen to cause them to meet.
So I guess that I think her question, or maybe just to clarify, there's no intentionality, right? There's no like
No,
this needs to happen.
Yeah.
I want him to go left. And
No.
but it's
more of a subconscious,
like
almost
the threads
desire,
of fate are kind
luck.
of pulled in
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
So it's okay, cool.
It's the magnetic pull that you just said, Jess.
Bodies,
That was a good question. I appreciate that. That was a good question because I had to think about
no intentionality.
Well,
that's why
I mean,
it's a group
because that's when you have to. This is the philosophy and religion teacher coming out in me. When you think about the way that like the different kind of versions of God, right? You have this sort of like pantheon type religions. You think, you know, the Greeks are like sort of old school, like those gods had direct interactions with people, like it was tangible, and like they would come and meet people and they'd, you know, seduce people and the whole thing. Like there was like a very physical relationship between the gods and the people, versus you get to monotheism, specifically Judeo-Christianity, and that God becomes transcendent, where it is not the same sort of like flesh and blood, I'm gonna like hang out with God now. It's a more ethereal experience.
Yeah, they're like
and
concepts.
that is like,
it's like the concept of chaos or fate or justice, where it's definitely ethereal. It's it's not so physical. There's no intentionality.
And
well, that's cool. So it's like
and to go over that as well too, and kind of further to the point too, it's not as if so the thing about that I want to make this important to the God is that it's not like he is the creator of concepts. He is just using the concepts that are there to do things, right? Because he didn't create the universe.
Yeah,
so he didn't create the concept.
He emerged from the universe. So
like gravity exists, magnetism exists. He's using it to his benefit.
Yeah,
correct.
It's something beyond our mortal minds at this point. So next question, is your world static, or are there ongoing cosmic developments? Are continents shifting? Is the universe spreading? Is the world moving towards a Ragnarok-like event?
Yes, above table is spoiler alert.
So are there other gods that emerge from the universe in this way?
Or, no.
Is this like a part of, is there a never-ending cycle of creation? So once in destruction, so once these things coalesce back to the god, does it destroy the planet and restart the thing? You know, jumpstart the creation again?
the biggest thing is that when the creator god fell, he wasn't the only one that fell. It was also the great evil that fell too, and he fell, he fell and broke up, but not into 1,001 shards, but in 10 shards, and these shards have world-breaking, world-defining power.
Well,
And
we didn't talk
instead
about
of
the great evil, so the great evil is like the god. It's a similarly powerful entity.
and it was created from the universe,
Okay,
just like him.
So God emerged from the universe. So the great evil emerged from the universe. Did it create anything, or is it like the natural
Yes.
decay of things? What's
It-
its realm?
So
I guess.
so it would have created other similar planets and things like that in the universe. Similar life should have created God until they met, and then they would have obviously done battle in the heavens or the outer space. Our quotation where people talk about
Is
it.
it almost like they were fighting
Is
over
that what
space?
led to the fall?
Like fighting over a
Yes.
space in the universe?
Not space so much, but they were just. Oh well, I guess space is a part of it. It's more of the like there can only be one kind of thing. It's like okay, if I'm the creator and I'm
This place isn't big enough for the both of us.
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
So they both emerge from the universe. They're creating planets in different spot in this nearly infinite space, whatever.
and the great evil isn't actually evil; is just a different.
The yin to the yang, right? It's the
Yeah.
opposite, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But it isn't evil.
then shattered as well, but they both clashed. Is that what caused the
Yeah.
shattering?
They clashed, fought for an indeterminate amount of time, and then it fell. They fell.
And they both fell onto Dithra.
Yep.
Fought.
So is it almost like, if you want to use the question as the jumping point, was it almost like that was a Ragnarok situation? We're moving away from Ragnarok towards like Ragnarok 2?
That could be it,
war,
yeah.
like a universal war 1, and then this.
That's what I'm saying, like a never-ending cycle of creation and
because-
destruction.
because they're both bound to want to their shards. Well, hold on.
What if they
So-
were the seeds of life? So this is like they are all the energies of creation, destruction. I mean, we can call it whatever it wants. They ultimately battle. When they fall, it plants the seeds of life in the planet, and that's where creatures, people, whatever emerge. And as they coalesce, it destroys it and starts the cycle again, maybe?
Because you said earlier that the main god guy created the planet after like what was his intention? Like what? So he like had other like starter planets that didn't work out, but why didn't they work out? Like what was he trying to create?
So the biggest thing is just really just testing out its powers. Like once it was born, it's not like omnipotent or omnipotent. Yeah. So it was simply just testing out its power. So he would create something, well, let's say like Pluto or whatever like that. Okay, like that's cool. Let's try again. And then it would keep creating and creating things until it got to Dethra, and it's like, oh, I'm happy with this. I like this. And then it kind of just continued to work at it. But it was several amount, it could be an indeterminate amount of trial things before it got to something it liked.
Okay, so there was no intentionality. It was just
No.
like I'm playing with Play-Doh and
Yeah.
seeing what happens. So then that would be an interesting kind of addition to that. Like he creates the world, but then what populates the world happens, like what John said, that it's sort of populated by the energy of like once they shatter.
The spark of life.
Yeah, that could
That's
be the like an interesting sort of like bridging of those two ideas, because then especially if you have these two entities who are not, it's not like good and evil, it's not like sort of the God versus devil kind of situation, right? That they're both sort of equal for all intentions, they're just different. Then I think that balance is more interesting if the people weren't created specifically by one of them, if what populates the world is sort of created out of both of those energies, and then having to like sort of which one do I like better, or whatever the conflict is.
What if we did-
that's a little more interesting that way.
Yeah, what if it is like a life death? Because you can't have life without death. Otherwise, it's just something different. So like creation, destruction, there's a lot of myths where they clash, it falls, their powers or whatever influence the world, and these things emerge from them, and they live these lives where it's, they eventually decay into death. It's a natural cycle no matter what. And it's both of these gods kind of emanating in this way till eventually it resets. There
That
is
sounds
no
cool. I
more
like
life.
that, dude. I like that. And I think that would change because that means that the deity would have to be a lot more present. That means that it would also be people that also worship it as well too. Because
Yeah, there's death
people
cults.
also-
Like I know that the
like
Tibetans worship death
yeah.
in that way because it's a natural part of.
Well, I
Of
mean,
life,
and
right.
honestly, aside from Judeo-Christian culture, most sort of ancient cultures or sort of more ethnic cultures do not have the same fear of death
Correct.
that sort of like Northern Christian Europeans have. Like, I mean, the Greeks, like the underworld was the underworld. He wasn't
Yeah.
evil by any means. It was just that's where you went when you died, and depending on how awesome you were, you went to a more or less awesome part of it. And
The
like,
Norse were the same way.
right, Mexico and like Dia de los Muertos, like all of that, like where
Yep.
death is not, it is a very natural part of existence. There's no like sort of fear or evil that's associated with it. It's just like another aspect of things. And so you could definitely, because that's the risk you always fall into, right? Like when you have sort of like a life and death god where it's like like sort of because of the influence of sort of Euro Christian culture, like we tend to like make
Evil.
the death guy bad somehow.
Mhm.
But that could be really an interesting interplay if you really like with intentionality made it that like this is not a case of like some evil death cult. They're just
Right.
they understand the
And the evil death
importance
cult
death plays
could
in life or
exist
whatever.
too, but they don't. But like the thing is though too, that can exist, but also exists that there is a lot more like air quotations healthier view or religion around just that entity, right? So there can be the extreme where like the people worship life and like that, and that's be the extreme of the death. I think that's a good duality, and I do agree that's a good idea with the whole season of life thing with kind of breaking apart. That changes because then there are two opposing religions that are worshipped in different areas, and probably speaking, different cultures would worship one or the other more than the other. If that makes sense.
But
Yeah,
but if you're talking 1,000 shards of one and 10 shards of another, not necessarily. I mean, if you think about the numbers, right? Like, okay, there's 10 shards, maybe the seeds of life. There was 1,001 shards of one god that fell, created life. There was 10 of this other god that fell that created life. You're talking a very small percentage of people. Now, as they fully populate the world, that percentage is going to stay consistent-ish, right? So it could still be 3% of the world understand this duality side of it, a cult, if you want to say air quote, but the majority of them believe in this because it was just so much more
also
prevalent with
dead
the number
men
of shards.
tell no tales
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe the influence of the death god or whatever only happens either on the other side or in areas of extreme loss of life, massive famines, war.
But see, like for me, it isn't
ritual sacrifice.
The powers isn't just life and death like these like cut and dry things. Like it's a wide variety of these.
Well,
things.
creation, call it creation and destruction. It could be
I'm just saying.
Could it be the two gods are creation and destruction in and of themselves? It was just two of the same coin. You're talking instead of a yin and a yang, it's actually two of the same coin that came together.
Okay,
and it could have been versus instead of it being like, they fight because this one believes in life and this one believes in death, which is almost like the yin and the yang side of it. Okay. They were just fighting because they couldn't figure out how to talk through the same thing. They were arguing the same point and it caused the fight. You know what I mean?
Well, I just had this epiphany. The 1,001, it's an odd number. What if, and I'm thinking of, I know that you've said that, I don't think you've actually done it in game, so I don't know how married you are to the idea, but what if it was split evenly? There's 500 shards, 500 shards. There's one left over. So let's say All 500 shards finally coalesce into the life god. The other one is the death god, and the last person, the odd man out, must choose, and it decides one or the other. Because why is it odd? Why? And I don't know if you got that far. You just may have just picked the number because it sounded cool.
Well, one, it sounded cool, but two, I want to get further back to what Jay was saying with the whole 10 shard thing. So the biggest thing is that shards give you wondrous powers. That is kind of just what they're just sheer magical power. The air quotations destruction god, because there's only 10 of them, you can use them a lot more often than a normal shard. They're a lot more powerful. So people that have them have imposed their will on the earth a lot more than someone that just has a single 1001 shard. So people that would have them will be a lot more prominent, like someone had the Elder Wand or whatever like that in Hogwarts. If you have something that's a lot more powerful than everything else, you just oppose your will and then you just make your own thing. So people in very high position, yeah.
That just leads me to a question before, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it leads me to a question then of okay, if it's more powerful, you can use it more often. Does that also then mean that you know which of the two gods shards you have?
Yeah,
or are we
look different?
Or are we to a point in life where you find a shard, you understand what the shards are, but you don't know which one it could be from?
Right, like how far from the fall, right? Because the further we get in time, those stories start to get muddled, right? The history gets a little shaky. Like that's where you enter the realm of like how much of this is mythology versus how much of this is true. And so like where are they in that point? Like, is everyone super hyper aware of like the two gods and like we're actively looking for these shards, or is it like I stumble upon one and it's that like story that my great grandmother told me that one time, and who does it, like how knowledgeable are they of these events?
These shards. I would say this. I would say leaning closer towards like I hear stories about my grandma talking about it than like everyone knows what it is, because I think if everyone knows what it is, it's a lot more modern because information is not that accessible depending on where you're at in the world. Like if you're if you're in like let's say you're in the Southern Kingdom where it's like oasis city and desert, information would be a lot more localized than knowing everything about shards and things like that is not near you, right? Because that's just how information works, in my opinion. So if, in my opinion, either people learn about what the shard is from the god, or they just would not know exactly which god gave them the shard.
Well, and
like,
I think I don't even think
that's where I was saying.
I don't even think we're that far yet in the culture.
Right.
This is like the metaphysical piece of this is just what it is. Each culture, I think, will have their own interpretation once we get there, but I think we do need to figure out what that is. Why is one more concentrated than the other, Val? Like, what is it? Just sheer time where they've just collected that many and they've been concentrated by these esoteric? Like, why is it 1,000? Why is it 10?
10 or yeah.
So the biggest thing is one, just how they fell. So when the creator god fell, it fell in a way that caused it to shatter a lot more than when the great evil. So essentially, how I had it was the great evil fell on top of the creator when they fell, so it didn't break up as much as the creator god. So when it fell, that's why it shattered so much more than the air quotation, the evil one. It was like, okay, Earth, creator god, explosion, and then on top of that, another explosion because another god just fell on top of them. So it's more of that than that person. That was just kind of my opinion on it, at least when I was kind of making it more than just a.
So it's just sheer happenstance. What if it was just? We should just name these things because I don't think creator and destruction god is probably
No,
the
yeah,
right thing.
no.
But,
I just give them
let's
the
say, roles. Bob is creator, and we can rename it.
Yeah, we can rename
Bob is
it.
creator.
He currently has no arms, no legs, and is swimming.
Yeah, what if Fred just won the fight? He beat the shit out of him, shattered him, scattered his remains across the planet, but in that fight, he also fell. He was weakened, but not to the same state. That seems less haphazard than just I just happen to fall second type of thing.
I also think you really have to decide what they represent or like what their relationship is to each other, because if you want them to be more of like they are all things at the same time as opposed to opposites, because what you've now created a power discrepancy, right? If one has more shards that need to be found than the other, and that those shards are more powerful just inherently, you've created a power dynamic there where you have kind of given like sort of good guy, bad guy situation, because it makes more sense to do it that way. If they're not good guy, bad guy, then it makes more sense to even out the numbers, because then it is more of a balance, and it's just like two opposites, you know, as opposed to like a good versus evil situation. So that's where you I think the numbers reflect what you believe about these two characters,
or
and what role they play.
Yeah, because it does drive the narrative. Because at the end of the game, it's a story, and so you do need some kind of conflict.
It's the overarching piece to the entire world. I know we're doing I know you're doing it. This is OSR where we're creating our own stories, but if the idea is that
it doesn't have to be good and evil. It could represent.
But my thought is, it's like for us as characters, even if it's us just understanding and knowing that these are out there. And so we decide as a character to make our story finding them, then we need to know what we're finding and why. Because that could, in all reality, that could change the way you're saying it right now. That could change the way that you look at the world. Like, why should I go try and find one of these 1,001 shards that is not as powerful versus spending my time figuring out how to travel to find one of these 10 shards that's extremely powerful?
But I think the thing then it becomes, it's a lot more likely that you would find it with 1,001 shards than 10. And then some of them are also found as well too. So let's say 5 of them are already found in the world. So that means you're trying to find 5 shards on a planet, right? Yeah. Whereas 1,001 is a lot more common to find. So if you're trying to build your power base, it's a lot more likely for you to just chase down 1,001 shards and build enough power through collecting 1,001 shards, and then hope you find one through some happenstance, or be clever enough or crafty enough to take someone's Fred shard.
But
sure,
yeah, I think
that brings it around then to say, then right back to the question of, is this world moving towards a Ragnarok-like event or a never-ending cycle of creation, destruction, whatever the case is? So,
well, what do the gods represent? Like,
what do they represent, so that way the people understand?
Because like, why do I care? Why don't I just go to work and I go to the grocery store and I, you know, like why find shards at all? Like, is it important to put the shards together? What happens if I don't? Like, what happens if, you know, this bad dictator in XYZ country gets a shard? Do I have to now take care of that? Is that a problem, or do I not? You know what I mean? And so that's the motivation, like who these people are and like why their shards matter will then that dictates then like what our motivations are, like, right? Why am I doing anything? Like, why do I care?
It's power, but that's fine. They all contain power. Then why have 2 gods if they don't? That's like, you just have one that fell and shattered, and then we're collecting the remains, and that is what it is. But having like this elder god on the side.
Yeah.
Well, I think and that's true, and that's a good point. You know, why have 2 and just have it be okay 1,001, and then 10 of the shards are just bigger than the other ones, right? Okay, yeah, that's okay. I get that, and I think
that's what the combo is for.
No. Let me answer.
I actually have an idea really fast.
Okay.
Rather than 2 gods, if you do it that way, what if the idea of the god being the life source, right? Like what populated the world. What if it isn't 2 gods? It is one god. It's one being, but it was hit by an asteroid, or it was hit by some other force in the universe that exploded it. And the idea like the event that it's going towards is that asteroid deflected, if you don't look at a universe necessarily as flat, that if you don't get the shards at like the old stories from thousands of years ago, is if these shards don't get brought together for whatever purpose, something bad at some point will happen. And it's just because of the time frame. You don't know what that is. You don't know why that is. But that's what motivates certain people to decide to do it, is it gives you the power. But if you can get enough of them together, you can, the old stories, like the old mythological
What if it was
stories,
just
is that you'll stop something from happening.
a story of martyrdom? The god loved this planet so much that he gave his divinity, fell, shattered, and people who who are gathering this power for whatever odds, clearly it's for power. When they bring the god together, that's when the reset happens. So maybe it's just that. Created all these planets, created one he fell in love with, gave itself to the planet to spark life, shatters across it, and now the people who are seeking power eventually bring it together, and that's when the Ragnarok happens.
Right.
The final piece is put.
then thinking about like the motivations there for the different people and why they'd gather shards, like some of them because they want him to reappear or whatever. Others just want to use the power for their own selfish reasons and selfish gains, right? To use it against
and
people.
Some people know
other people want to keep them apart from each other because they don't want that. Like there's a million different reasons why people would look for shards, and then what they do with those shards after the fact. Some maybe like have them hidden away somewhere. Some use them and like, haha, I have one.
Yeah, I imagine like
whatever.
An ancient sect, they know about it, right? They're like, no, this is foretold. When all of the powers are collected, that's the end of the world. And then, of course, there's people, families. I imagine like a Valyrian steel where they hoard all of this armor and stuff. They're trying to get as many shards as possible to concentrate power. And there's other people who are hiding pieces of it. Like imagine a temple, a monastery on a mountain. Their whole thing is to protect it and keep it away. And then some fucking tyrant comes in. I think it also simplifies just having one god. Too.
Yeah. Well, and you can, and with the lore you've already put out in game, with the Westerners thinking that bringing the shards back together will bring the god back. Maybe their whole thought is
they're just
bringing the god back would be. They're misinformed. Yeah, 100%.
They don't know what would happen if they do.
They don't know what would happen. They think it would be good, but instead of it being good, it could be
in good intentions.
Right?
And then your conflict is between people and not between sort of like these other two entities, and that we're just like kind of pawns in the scheme, right? Like that it brings it, especially since you want to do low magic, that it brings the stakes are at our level, right? They're between societies, they're between townships, they're between individuals. They're not between these two like unnamed energy gods that we're just kind of along for the ride,
Well, and to be fair as well too, I think for me is that so it's two different ways it can go. It's either like a lot more like almost like Cthulhian, where like they are just two different entities that are just so vastly alien in our mindset that we're just trying to exist with the power that they have dropped upon the planet, and we are faced with this power, and how we deal with it, right, is that aspect of it. And then it's a different aspect of what you guys are presenting, which is good. I like that idea of it just being a kind of a God gave up his energy or his life force to create and fuel the planet that he made with true sentience, and in doing so caused them to shatter into 1,000 pieces across the world. And then whoever collects all of them, he comes back, whatever.
I think you can have a por qué no los dos kind of situation too, and do kind of a mishmash of those two things where you have like the one god, and then some, either maybe he just like used all his energy to create the world and shattered, because he like lost power or whatever, that it wasn't like, I'm giving myself to you. It doesn't have to be quite that like altruistic. It could be something else, some other reason that now we have to figure out. So you can kind of like push those together. But I do think the shards situation is a little easier to wrangle if the conflict is between like the people like dealing with the shards and not between two gods, that they're like whatever the energy is, whether it's a god or energy universe, whatever,
Yeah, right,
a meteor
right.
hit the planet and shattered, whatever the case,
Mhm.
that's not the source of conflict. The source of conflict is now that these energy pieces are here, what are we doing with them?
Yeah,
How are they being utilized?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and I agree with that, and I think I've always agree with that. I mean, like whether or not he comes together, or whatever comes together or not, I think most likely it'll never happen, right? It's just reality. It's just too many moving parts. Most likely, and it's just how people deal with just the fact of people wanting these shards for a variety of different things. Like I said, I lean more to I do agree that I think going with your with everybody's idea about just being one god fall and give up his power, I think that makes more sense, especially if it's not altruistic, because I don't think it would be like the love it's not human, right? It's not based off like a Greek god where like it gave up his like Prometheus or something like that. It's literally just based off the fact that it's like an alien entity just playing with cosmic forces.
So maybe it just took on more than it could chew,
Yeah.
and it
And
In the
I do
creation
agree.
of life, it shattered. Like planets were not enough, and then in the creation of consciousness, which we can all agree is a very strange thing that no one understands how that works. In the
Yes.
creation of consciousness, it gave up a little bit more than he bargained for, and and it's not an altruistic.
That makes a lot more sense to me. I
Emerge.
would definitely.
It's a great idea, and I think it's something that PCs can wrap their head around and be able to.
Well, then each culture will have their own interpretation. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I think
we'll get to that
that's the
later.
cool part.
Yeah.
But this is the story how it actually happened, and then everyone else will, and that's the cool stuff where the cultures interpret that in a different way. So, all right, let me make some quick notes. God emerged from the universe.
I was going to say it's really cool how you start from the top down, and it really does inform the story. Like it's cool to see that. This is a great way to think of world building. This was a cool thing to put out there. So
I've just got bullet points. So God emerged from the universe, created the planets. When creating consciousness, life, bit off more than could chew, shattered in process, scattering across the planet. And that's simple. Just that's one sentence. We don't have to worry about the motivations or the conflicts, and it's just something crazy happened, and now people are doing.
I agree. Yeah,
because the fun part is how people interpret that, right? Like that's where it gets juicy, is when we put motivations on those events through our own perspectives.
Now, are we still saying that it draws them to other, or does it even care? It's just people just want to concentrate power at this point. We leave it to the
but I do think that they do seek to get together. I do like that idea, because I think it makes sense that the remaining energies in the shards do seek to get together.
It makes sense. I mean, the god eventually wants to. He's like, I fucked up. I want to come back together. That I don't think it's mutually exclusive. Okay, I'll keep that. There's a magnetic pull. There's no intentionality, but something bends the universe kind of towards each other. So cool. All right. I think we have a cosmology. Cool. We can move to the next piece, which is geography and climate. I think we should just do one region at a time for some of this stuff, because the rest of it's kind of very specific, I think. Can we just do the Southlands? Because I don't think we're going to build the entire world in one.
No, it's going to take dozens of hours.
So
way more than 2 hours.
I'm going to zoom in on the map. It's this Australia-looking place, and so some of these questions may or may not apply. I think it does try to the whole world at a time, but we kind of have the geography already and the climate already there. So I think let me just go through some of this, because I guess a quick question: several suns or moons?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd rather it be probably if it's more than one sun, then the fucking day-night cycle is fucked, right?
I mean, the whole like gravitational pull, the way the tides work,
right,
everything.
Yeah, it would just fuck.
So
I mean,
how
it's not conducive
complicated
to
do you
life.
want your physics
yeah,
to
it's
be?
not good. Yeah, so
Like-
I mean, having more than one moon, I don't think is as bad as having more than
No,
one
that's
sun.
super common. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that bad. But more than one sun, I think is kind of wild because the Earth would just get too hot because there's no.
It's possible. There's binary systems, but it's probably not conducive to most life.
So let's just go with 2 moons and a sun for now.
I like
And
2
then-
moons. It's
Let's go 2 moons.
2 moons.
And one of them is purple.
Because you will have to reinvent physics if you
Right,
want.
yeah.
If
It's
you
like,
get
hey,
too funky
guys,
with your
I'm calling
star
Neo.
systems.
Is one
Oh,
just a
oh.
classic, just white like
No,
ours?
it's red and purple.
Red and purple. 2 moons, red and purple. Is the purple one the big one? Are they different sizes?
Hey,
Or-
which one's the big one?
Oh yeah, the purple one's got to be the big one.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right, that works.
Purple, big one.
I can imagine it almost
Red.
like hell. You could think of it. They're two sizes. They just one looks bigger. The purple one's closer, and the red one's slightly back.
And are
Get some sort of true lunar eclipse, like the 2 moons crossing over each other.
I have a question now too.
Mhm.
Are they circles? Is the question, or are there different shapes?
Don't do this to me.
Yes, let's do it. They don't have to be circles. What are you talking about? These circles, Ashford. We can mix it up.
I mean,
it's our shit.
generally, it's either egg shape or
We
sort
have
of
our
like
own shit.
spheres.
Have our
is-
own shit. Listen,
It's-
one of
it's
them
true.
has to be
It's-
different. One of them has to be different. Okay, they both can't be
It's
Well, they're
the
different
red one's
sizes.
flat. The red one's flat. It's true flat Earth theory. It's straight flat.
Oh
you
my
just see a line.
God.
Disc.
But I'm just saying it could be like a fucking. Hold on, I gotta draw. I can't even draw the shit. It could be like a fucking like an alien looking shit. Like hold on, it's gonna be so fucking ugly.
Put like
Again, you're gonna have to reinvent physics.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
so like it could look like fuck that. Can you read that? Can you see that?
Oh,
It's like it's
Well,
like
so
like
so
it could be
so
like a
so
thing.
do this.
Like a thing.
So do the purple one. The purple one's bigger, and do the red one. You can see, the red one has like Saturn-esque rings on it. Do it that way.
Yeah, let's
Do
get some
something like
rings
that.
on it or something. Yeah, man. Why we gotta be the basic ass Earth moon?
Purple,
I want to,
I think
See,
moons can have rings. It could be just like ice.
but
or
like
something.
visible rings though, like
Yeah.
visible
Yeah.
Yeah, because the ring is it's like a meteor
belt, right?
belt
Yeah.
thing, right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the purple one, big one, has
No belts. No, nothing. It's just
Yeah.
purple.
Purple
Whatever
one.
the
The
red
hell-
one
purple
has
one's bigger. The red one is smaller but has rings.
okay.
Yeah.
So the next couple questions kind of talk about it. So is there a day-night cycle? I think probably yes. It just makes it
Yes,
easy
there,
for
there,
bookkeeping.
there
and-
is a day-night cycle. Yes.
Are there seasons?
Yes.
How many? Is it the classic
No.
4?
Let's roll a dice. Let's figure this
What
out.
dice you want rolled?
Let's go with a D10.
All right.
Mix it up a little bit. Hey, guys, listen. If you're not trying, you're not trying. What are we talking about here?
I mean, it's an
Mix-
alien world. We can.
All right,
Yeah.
I gotta-
why do we gotta do the basic
I-
four?
I got a
symbols?
D10 unless you really want it rolled in game, but I got a
No,
D10.
roll it.
sitting
Roll
here.
it. Oh, what is it?
All
Roll
right.
it.
One season. Fuck.
And
You'll
if,
never
if
have
you
to
want
keep
me to move,
track.
if you want me to move the camera so you can see the dice, but I rolled an 8.
Oh,
Let's go, boys.
Alright.
Eight's a nice even number.
Yeah, let's go.
I would
That's
almost-
not overwhelming.
Yeah, I would almost just say call them months at this point, and just
Mhm.
Every month is a new season.
That'd be cool though. Like, okay, because like, okay, so there's 8 seasons, right? So let's change the calendar. Like you said, that's a great idea, John. You get a golden noodle today. That's a fucking great idea.
it's probably one of the other questions, but we can just have an
Eight-
8 month
eight-month
calendar.
cycle.
It makes it easy.
Yeah,
Because
8
either
months.
way, it's going to be chopped up 8 ways. So just
Yeah,
might as
that's
well
a
match
month.
the seasons.
And it's
Well,
very
and-
distinct too, though.
But I guess then that begs the question: if you're gonna have 4 distinct regions because you have 4 distinct people, right? That's canon
Mhm.
already.
Yes.
Are there hemispheres?
Oh yeah.
Are the seasons
the
different
opposite?
at the same
essen-
time?
well, and essentially,
Yeah.
essentially, there is a hemisphere. If you think of the frozen north, you kind of said that there
Yes.
it's harsh, a lot of winter, like quote unquote winter,
I have a
cold,
question.
snow.
I have a question, right? Okay, so this is gonna be some new shit here. So give me that. Okay, so in my mind, when I was trading Deethra, all right, this might sound stupid, guys. There were 2 equators. One here. Okay, but you can't see that, can you? Hold on one second. it was one here, and then it's one here, like an X, right?
Okay.
So that okay. So it
So
wasn't
is
that
it an
okay.
8-sided dice planet? Like, I
No,
don't
no,
think
it's
that's how-
no, it's not an eight-sided. No, it's just it's like you have the northern and the eastern. It's like eastern western hemisphere, right? It's just divided differently. Like you just have yeah.
You have to think
It's
of
the
it.
accent.
You have to think
so
This
the
is
axis
this is what
here.
the planet has like this sort of look to it.
Wait,
Well, it
no,
would have,
no,
to, it would
like
have to
it's-
wobble, I think, and it's
Well, the axis is here, then, right? So it's not the wobble. It's just that the axis to the sun is more tilted, right? Am I?
well,
Do I remember?
well,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
so here's
but
the
it would
thing,
have to
is-
change for
yeah.
the other one.
if you want to start asking about
Yeah.
about planets and hemispheres and all these,
We
or
need
not planets,
Neil
about
deGrasse
systems. Does the Earth rotate,
yes.
or is it
on its
okay.
axis? On its axis. Yes.
based on where the sun is the sun sitting at its axis, so the equator is just rolling straight around the sun, or is the sun like on, say, is the sun like off kilter, like here and roll in this
Okay,
way?
check this out, guys. What if every 24 hours it kind of spin on one equator, and then on the other day spin
People
on the
will
other
die.
equator?
Are you?
No, they would. They would not
The
die.
saying-
oceans.
They
would-
wouldn't-
Yes, they would.
Wait,
No, they
wait,
would
so-
not.
Okay, I hate to be that guy.
They would not die, guys. I don't think so. Tell me.
Does it matter?
It probably
Because-
doesn't matter.
Because
True.
here's the thing, right? Is that yes, in real life, are there like physics and seasons and rotations? And yes, obviously. But in my day-to-day life, none of that really makes a difference in like my daily choices, you know? And so when you're world building and you have to now keep track of all of this shit
That's the main thing.
and know who is where, what time, what day is it, what hour, whatever, like, which is
Fair
more
point.
important? Is it more important that you have like clear cultures and stories, even if maybe what that continent looks like in terms of its locale doesn't make sense in terms of seasonally or geographically or whatever, but
Right,
it like
right.
makes for a good story? Or do you care
Right.
about writing your own physics?
I wouldn't worry about that too much. Can we just start at the 8 seasons and come up with names?
Yeah.
All right,
before we get too
can.
ahead of ourselves.
All right, let's do that. Okay, we got all
Any
okay.
names?
Sorry,
for the first season of-
I get too devil's advocate at times. Sorry, guys.
It's all
We're getting
good.
crazy.
All good. All right, we're getting all right, we're getting the deep. All right, so I mean, so do we want to like come up with 2 each and then just kind of meet back in the middle with our 2 ideas, 2 names? That's 8.
Well, we're doing it right now. Let's just start saying
I-
weird stuff.
I
until
That's
just-
holy.
Deal names from fun languages.
yeah. Like that's usually the easiest. Find like a Polynesian something, and that's what it is, or Latin, or
Well, I can tell you what, like geographically
Turkish.
speaking, every culture is based off of. I mean, it's like not culture, but language, if that helps. Because if they're talking about if the seasons are called from the place here, then it would be the language. So basically, you have Easterners like kind of like a Spanish language.
Latin.
Well,
Let's Latin base,
Latin. Okay, and then you
Which
have
is-
but
which is our current calendar. so
but but like the Southern is more like African based, like the language, and
Okay.
then the Westerners is more
like Germanic.
like Germanic, and then the Northern is more like Asian. Asian is kind of
That's
broad,
a-
but like Chinese, like Mongolian maybe. Mixture in between the two of those.
Mongolian does have their own language.
they do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like Mongolian.
There's like
so-
19 different dialects of Chinese.
So yeah.
Mongolian's probably easy.
Yes, let's go Mongolian. So they would come from one of those 4 main languages.
Well, let's roll a dice there and decide like what ancient scientist or whoever created the calendar. Just
Mhm.
roll a d4 and we figure it out, and then we just use that.
That works.
Because usually it's like one calendar is adopted
Well,
by
yeah,
most
yeah,
people.
By
like-
everybody.
And the
Mhm.
Jor-
Who's but before I roll, what's 1 and what's 4?
Well, I mean,
North, south, east, west.
You could
Okay.
also, I mean, is one of these
3.
cultures or areas more powerful than the others? Because chances are they would be the ones who get to pick the names.
That's true.
The power, yeah, that's true.
History is written. I mean, probably Western civilization, right? Is what I'm thinking, but I don't know.
Well,
Southerners are pretty powerful too, as far as their technology and whatnot.
well, like the East, so like it's tough, right? Okay, because it's the thing, right? So the Westerners have the timber, obviously, to make boats. The problem is that if they come through here, then this is just fucking uninhabitable, or like the French Russia thing where they went to Russia and they got fucked, right? And this is fucking desert, so they can't really like set up like bases here. If they
let's
want
roll
to.
for it.
Yeah, okay. I thought you wanted to go. Okay, all right. No,
We'll get to that stuff.
Okay.
It's a 3. So 1, 2, 3. Southerners. So it's African. Can we pick an African language like Sudanese
African
or something?
African is a language. Afrikaan.
Afrikaan. That's South Africa, right? Afrikaans.
No, I think it.
Yep.
Is it not? Okay.
Yeah.
That'll work. That'll work.
But it's derived from Dutch.
Yes. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it's the language of the colonizers.
Yeah.
You could.
Which ultimately
Okay.
is a Germanic language.
Okay, guys. We'll like
Swahili.
Swahili is a yeah.
All right,
That's a pretty broad one.
All right, that'll work.
Healy months. Machi Aprili.
And then are we naming them after, like, are we numbering them? Like
You probably should, right?
traditional? Like, I mean, like, is the name the number of the month? Or is it
Oh, I
more
see what
like
you're
the
saying.
seasons where it describes the season?
what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be the season then, because 8 distinct seasons. So like the month, the number, like the
Well,
numeric
let's,
order.
yeah,
wouldn't matter.
let's and looking at the months anyway, they're pretty much there's October and September, so it's like
Okay,
So-
it's gotta be different than that. Like October.
okay. So what? I guess we
Here,
just
on,
look up.
here you go. Here you
what
go.
are
Hold on. Here you go.
words?
Hold on. Here you go. Here you go. I have the 4 actual seasons in Swahili.
Where are you posting?
Dropping them into the chat. I'm dropping them into the Roll20 chat right now.
Okay.
Majira Yajoto. That's 5. 1, 2, 3.
The first 2 were Polynesian. They're Hawaiian.
Okay, so it starts at Baridi,
Yep. Baridi,
Vuli.
Vuli, Bahoya Yoto.
Hey,
If
my
we're
man over
butchering
here
this, I'm
trying to-
sorry, yo.
my
I'm
man,
not. I don't know how to speak Swahili.
What'd you say, John?
Chimney.
Jim Chimney. Yeah.
Jimmy-
That's what it looks like.
Hey,
Chimichurri.
bro.
Canceled and demonetized.
Demonetized. Hey, listen, we are not the safest group ever. I mean, if
Yeah,
you
all
see
five-
episode
All
1 or
5
2,
Swahili D&D players are speaking like native.
motherfucker.
Fuck you guys.
Hey man, they've been on a Facebook group with 7 members.
That only covers half of it.
Fuck you up.
Um,
Okay. All right. Okay, but what if the guy worked with somebody, right? And it was like maybe the other half in a different language, right? Maybe it was a duo.
We could do 2, 2, and 2, right? So Baridi and Vuli for the Southerners, and then do a couple in German
Spanish,
or whatever.
Spanish, like
a
German,
couple-
Spanish, and Mongolian,
Mhm.
right?
Well, I was gonna say, for the Easterners, I did you could do the 2 Hawaiian, which is a Polynesian
Mhm.
ish
No, but no-
Eastern
but, like,
language.
They're based off Spanish. Yeah, Spanish people, not Polynesians.
Hmm.
Li- li-
Easterners ours.
Yes.
The way you
Yeah.
describe them, it ain't fucking
No,
Spaniards,
because
bro.
it's not exactly like 1-to-1 Polynesians though. It's a unique thing.
we're
They just-
culturally appropriating.
Yeah, well, I say
Well,
like, not exactly.
Latin,
Latin adjacent. Yeah.
Latin adjacent.
Listen, I don't want anybody to be like, because the reason why 'cause I didn't want 1-to-1 things, and then people get triggered on Twitter eventually, because it's like, oh, these are Polynesians, huh?
I mean, because I do the same thing with my world too. Is that like I have like the continent that's sort of like Imperial Japan-ish, and then I have the
Right.
one that's like I use everything's named using Nahuatl words, like the Aztec and Mayan language, because they're that sort of like Mesoamerican. Like we adapt based on what we know, because otherwise you're reinventing the wheel, and who has that kind of time, really?
Yeah,
Right.
and you people should understand where it's kind of coming from.
I
Like,
still
you
don't
wanna
want to do a
paint
one-to-one
picture
replication
immediately.
because people get triggered on
Mhm.
Twitter for this shit. like that.
German, so
not
German
doing that.
seasons.
Okay, here
Oh.
let's
Herbst,
Google.
summer, winter
summer?
is winter. Herbst is autumn, and Frühling. What's another Germanic?
Dude, Frühling sounds like a fucking Final Fantasy character, dude.
Dutch,
Uh,
the Netherlands.
English.
We're a mix.
oh, you could use like Gaelic, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
That's kind of a fun.
17 consonants, no vowels.
Ooh. Until you read it. Gaimreda is Gaimreda.
I want you to read.
Eric
You,
is good. That one's fun.
you said Mongolian, right?
Yeah.
What is that?
That is UAV online. Head ass. I don't know.
that is a Mongolian word written in Mongolian. So tell me what season that is.
That's his pronounced. Don't do episodes of Black Man's Radio.
Arak. We'll do Arak. That's the third month.
Oh
And
my
this one I think is easy.
God. Oh boy, Lance's
Samrad.
Samhrad.
Dude, that's just got to be translated to a different language to English, bro. We don't know that shit. Though it's not even English letters. That shit look like.
Oyidan. It's like Oyidan. I had listened to it. Great to see it.
Oh.
Oyidan.
Oh, autumn is pretty easy from the Gaelic too. It's Fomhar.
All right, so we got 2 from Gaelic, or is that a third one?
I put 3, so you can pick which 2 you like the best.
Fomar
The other one
looks-
is very difficult to say.
Yeah, Samhrad is a
looks
little
good.
rough. Foam.
Yeah.
I'm gonna copy and paste. 'Cause-
Fomhar.
That'll work. That'll do.
And Arak.
So I've got Baridi, Vuli, Arak, and
It sounds like
Fomar.
you about to take over the country. Take over the world.
We
names
need
like
4
that.
more. We're halfway there.
Jess, you didn't sound angry enough saying that.
I know, right?
Gotta say it like
Sorry.
DMX.
And
Uh-huh.
and I think we need to go in like what kind of weather pattern. Like I don't think it just
Yeah.
needs to be like spring. Blah,
The
blah.
name.
What if it's
No.
the windy season or the season of storms?
Yeah.
Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also as well too. I was thinking as well too. Like it also it could factor into like the moons too as well, right?
Yeah.
Like what if like a moon? It was like extremely high tides, right, in certain places, or low tides. And that'd be a season, right? So that's 2 there, right? Low high tide seasons, because if it's very dramatic because of the moon pattern, that would be very noticeable. People would definitely make that a separate thing.
Yeah. Let's get some names. Let's see. What strain or language?
We're at Mongolian light.
Maybe not Mongolian. But you should be able to
Translate that to English.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it don't matter. Like if you do Chinese, I can't. I don't know what these characters pronunciation.
Okay, hold on.
That shit.
Translate to English.
Yeah.
Winter is oval. OVOL. If you just use the Google English to Mongolian,
It converts it. Yeah, it converts it pretty nicely.
winter. Let's see what else. That one's kind of cool, but
Oval looks dope as hell, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
it looks like a little owl with his hand up.
Yeah, it does, man. Hoo, hoo, hooty, hoo, hoo.
Spring is Kavar. Whoop,
All right.
I don't know what.
That'll work.
All right,
All
we
right.
got
So
2.
what do we have? We have African,
You have 6.
African-ish, the Gaelic-ish, Mongolian. What was the other one you wanted? Like a Spanish,
Spanish.
Latin, whatever.
It's Spanish. Yeah.
It's
Hey, we got hey John. Oh, you have to.
dude. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm sorry.
Oh well,
Can't help you.
hey guys, I'm sorry for being racist. I assume he spoke Spanish, guys. Cancel me on
Sorry.
Twitter.
Everybody does. It's a classic thing. My fiance here her family, they only speak Spanish. It's a problem. It's I'm trying.
I
to
think the
learn.
reason why I thought you so Spanish because like you've been to Mexico, like, oh, he must speak Spanish.
Okay, well, I do speak Spanish, so I'm gonna help you.
Hey, Jess is a goat. Jess is very helpful. I'm not gonna lie, she is helpful, man. I like telling this is helpful.
I'm super smart. So winter is invierno. They're all very easy. Like Inverness, like that. It's the same. That's where it comes from. The Latin. Okay, so this is winter. Primavera is spring, which is very fun and pretty to say, and reminds people of pasta.
Right. Make some progress here, guys.
I'm making sure I spelled them correctly. So, verano is summer, and otoño with the enye on the N is autumn or fall.
All right, I'm Rosetta Stone. What's up, man? Y'all need to call Jess on the phone.
Well, we only need two, I think,
Two.
at this point.
Believe me,
I
my
would like-
Spanish, I get yelled at by my mother about how poor my Spanish is.
That sounds better than mine. I'll tell you.
Invierno sounds the
Yes.
coolest, I think.
Yeah. And Verano.
Verano is
Verano.
also, Verano's also one that
Verano.
you could put.
Verano.
I can't roll my R's. like-
Quesadilla. What's up, guys?
All right, so I've got the 8 here. I'm gonna laugh. We're gonna have this. Never gonna fucking use it, but you know what? That's okay.
Hey, we
Right.
might. We might.
We might
You
as
never
well.
know.
You
So-
put it on the wiki. It's there for reference in case someone
like,
wants to
I know we
refer
should
to
get
it.
Seven dudes are
we
gonna
should get a
see us.
world anvil.
Yeah.
I let me tell you, getting my
Just-
world anvil was the best $40 or whatever it was that I spent.
It's your rolling crazy good.
Yeah,
I really, really love it. Our wiki is very fun. It has interactive maps. That's my favorite part of it. I should work for these people because I shill for them so much.
it's good.
Yeah, get that promo in
Wolf
there.
is in his, and yeah, it's great. Being able
Yeah.
to put all that stuff, especially if it's
Machine
a
gun.
World
Westmarch
Anvil.
style.
Sponsor me. Sponsor
Yeah,
us.
between the
We'll
machine
advertise
guns
it.
and explosions. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
So Burriti,
yeah.
if we can talk about like what kind of seasonal changes. This is the beginning of the year, and we don't have to think in Earth terms. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
spring or whatever. So
Yeah, no.
what is Burriti?
No, I like the idea that you just said, like, you have the rainy season, right? Like if you look at like in that archipelago, if you're talking that Mongolian-ish language, one of those would be the rainy season, because you would think middle of the all these small islands in the middle of the fucking ocean with a big ass hole in it where
So,
whatever
season-
hit, like
Season of storms. We said low tide.
Low
High
tide,
tide.
high tide.
Should they be one after the other, or like spaced?
No, totally separate.
There should be like opposite, right? Like
Yeah, opposite.
number
Like
one and
6
number
months
8
apart, or like
kind
4
of
months. Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
So I'll do
months apart.
Vuli since that was the next one for low tide, and then Kavar high tide. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, or even further. And Verano,
Mhm.
all the way at the end.
well,
High tide.
would it be 1 and 8 if it rotates around, or would it be 4?
No,
and eight?
it would be like
1 and 8 would
right?
be too close,
yeah,
right?
that would be too
Yeah.
close. It would be
So
1
one
and
and
1 and 4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll do.
Okay.
And then whatever the northern is, there should be like some sort of
Frost, something.
something season of frost or whatever.
Mhm.
fine. All right, so I've got low tide is Burriti, Vuli is open, Aorak is the season of storms, Fulmar is high tide, Ovo,
And it should be some supernatural ones too.
yeah, it could be
Oh, like meteors. Maybe there's like a time where all the falling star situation.
Would that be something that would happen in the south more, being that it's a desert?
I think, but and also as well too,
well,
right?
what there's two
Certain
moons.
seasons, yeah. So
What if
certain
there's, like,
seasons could be locked to different areas too, though. Like, so it's 8 seasons, but maybe only certain regions get some of them. Like, so one might only get 4 out of the 8, right? That makes sense.
That gets complicated. Then we have to make 4
Charts.
times 8.
Oh,
You know
right.
what I'm
Damn
talking
it.
about?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We
Well,
could
what
just
if-
say
what if-
which one is. We could just call, the DM fiat
So-
at this point. You can just call it
Yeah, which
however
is-
it affects on the fly. What if since we have 2
Maybe
moons,
you have
what
like
if we had like
high
an
moon.
eclipse? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
an eclipse
the
type where
eclipse,
it's
yeah.
darker all the time. It's like,
Yep.
is that a full season? I guess they're like monthly in this way, an eighth of a year. So the dark times,
and the year can be as long as it wants to be too, though, right? So the year can be it doesn't have to be 300.
I'd say
days
these seasons could be 8 seasons, but shit, their calendar year could be fucking 100 days each of the 8. You know what I mean?
So I've got low tide, season of storms, high tide, the dark times. I would just say like days are short, nights are long.
Yep.
We probably
So
should
is
have
that
one
another
that's an opposite where it's
opposite
long days.
exactly another the opposite of it where it's
So I'll do oval as the dark times, Verano as the light times. Short nights, long days. And so oval
And
would
then
be probably winter-ish, right? If it's cold
Yeah.
as hell, or there's no
kind of like
sunlight.
Alaska.
Exactly.
When you get the 24-hour, yeah.
Oh my God. I went to Alaska last June and it was bright at midnight. I was like, how does anyone know how to live in this place? Because my body doesn't know what time it is.
There was that
Blackout
movie
curtains.
Insomnia. Yeah, that's
30 days.
it's a must in
Um,
Phoenix. I'm telling you, blackout curtains.
Right?
For sure.
The only other one I was gonna say was should you just throw a reap in there, something like a harvest from the Westerner
probably.
standpoint?
That's got it. So I've got 2, 6 and 7 open.
Is one of the
It should be some crazy stuff. I want something like definitely like distinct, right? Than just like, hey, this is just Earth.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we got in reality, we have 6 of the 8 if we use reap. That leaves 2 for like supernatural events.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We need to 2 now. Like
I'll do Kavar. 7 feels or 6 feels right. That's kind of like the autumnish time. So
yeah.
Harvest, reap. Okay, and then so we've got Vuli the second month and Invierno the second to last. So what are some supernatural?
Those both sound like supernatural shit too. Like that works out.
What are some
cool shit, man? Thinking
some seasonal supernatural like the meteor idea was kind of cool. What if it was like the atmosphere glows kind of like an aurora borealis, but it's from the star. It's like maybe a coronal. What do they call those?
I see what you're saying.
Where it's gamma ray bursts hitting the sky, and it's bizarre. Animals and whatever freak out. The sky is all lit up.
So it's like an aurora for like days, right?
Exactly. It's like I think day and night. It's like
like
just a constant
barrage
of
a coronal mass ejection. Usually that'll kill planets, but whatever. We have an atmosphere. So Invierno, I think. So,
sounds right. That sounds perfect for that.
How do I word that? So day, night, aurora borealis,
and maybe like a gravity season too, where like gravity isn't normal. Like maybe this time
that's a good bully. Sounds like that would
like the moon, like
moon,
the one of the
light,
moon gets
light.
closer or something.
Yeah, you just want to go so that way. Can you imagine fight? That's like some Jack Sparrow shit. You just jump on the fucking thing. You're like work would get done so much faster. You know, if it's like moon, like maybe not as much as the moon, but like you should definitely like jump a lot, like significantly higher. That'd be cool, man.
The gravity and less gravity.
During those games, you get like double movement or movement and a half or something.
Or ranged attacks don't work because you go.
There's no fall damage. Okay, so Vuli would be. I imagine so. Low tide. One of the moons are in orbit. High tide, the other one, or both are kind of there affecting it.
Well,
this one, what if this was
I could
when
almost
they're
see,
kind of opposite?
I could almost see, like the red, like when it's low tide, the red moon is because it's the farther moon. The red moon is visible. When it's high tide, it's the other way around because purple.
And then
what if
Vuli
you have
Vuli
eclipse.
is like they're both on the opposite side, so it's
Yeah.
kind of-
dead
Oh, and
across
that's what
from each
makes
other,
it
yeah.
like wonky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Vuli moons opposing light gravity. Cool. All right, so I will post it just so they're just
That's cool.
And gravity fighting shit sounds badass as shit, man.
well, it also sounds inconvenient. Imagine trying to move like an army or any foodstuffs, or it's a nightmare. Like pack animals are flying all over the place.
Yeah, you know, like freaking fences don't work
Dude
anymore.
just throws your horse over his shoulder and walks away.
He just
Like,
runs
"See ya,
off,
it's
dude."
mine now.
And you can't shoot him to stop him either with an arrow because it's not gonna work. So you have to catch up to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of shenanigans happen.
That's
I think-
Everybody's walking around with like 50-pound weights on their ankles
Yeah,
just to
you
stay
would
on the
see
ground.
some
like-
weird regional like things where
Yeah.
people they have tethers to
Yeah.
their children and
Yeah.
like
for
It's
like
the
that.
helium
Baby
balloon.
leashes.
yeah,
Baby leashes.
they're staking
Not the
them to
baby.
ground.
leashes.
Just don't put them in red and have Pennywise show up. We're good.
Holy
Okay,
brother.
cool. So we got that was a fun exercise. Let's see what else.
That was cool.
I was kind of skimming through geography. So when looking at celestial objects, how do they appear? We talked about that. Is there a day-night cycle? Are there seasons? We talked about that. How much do the day-night cycle seasons influence the climate? We've already kind of covered that. Are there land masses, oceans? We already got that covered. Mountains and ice. Yeah, we
Mountains.
got that. Are there
Yeah.
forces like currents and winds? Of course.
Yep.
Are material?
there's wind.
How are raw materials and natural resources distributed?
Hey, I actually thought about this one. Hey, I mean, fully, in my opinion. All right, so
All right.
all right, here we go. Because I didn't want it to be exactly like Earth. One, so traditionally speaking, in sandy areas, there's low iron. Traditionally speaking, so this shit right. So here, so in the kind of sandy parts here, and I said in Southern Empire, they have a large quantity of iron. And I would say here, up north, there is actually very little iron, but there is things like silver and tin and things like that. That's there because I believe that tin.
1 second.
That's where
So I've got Southlands. We've got iron deposits in the central mountains, and you said where in the Northlands? What are we looking at?
tin.
Where?
This mountain right here.
Okay, like this. I was imagine this is like the spine of the world type. It cuts
Yeah.
this place in half. So it's Northlands, tin deposits in central mountains. Cool. Any other resources? Like how are they
Yes.
scattered?
So then you have in the west over here, they have copper, because tin and copper usually aren't found very close to each other. Generally speaking, that's why it's so expensive to make bronze. So the western has large deposits of bronze. Not bronze, copper, not bronze. Bronze is the alloy.
So Westlands, copper in
Alright.
Central Mountain Range.
And then in the archipelago, there's iron bark trees on
Kind of
every
all
major,
throughout.
all throughout the archipelago.
Eastlands, iron bark trees.
And there's
all
also as well too. There's gold in the north as well too, because that gives people actually reasons to go there. If not, people just fucking leave. Because
There's gold in them there hills.
Hey man, I've seen a what's that show called the with white people getting gold and stuff in the and no, I'm just saying what is it? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Some kind of reality show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Gold rush.
Yes, that's
You
what it
said
is.
the white people getting gold. I'm like,
The white people get
usually
gold.
most tables it's D&D.
No, but it's like the white people that they're in like fucking the Amazon and like fucking Alaska getting gold and stuff. I don't, yeah.
Gold rush.
Yeah, see, you know what I'm talking about, guys.
Oh,
I ain't making it up.
I just like the way you said it. The white people
Hey,
getting gold.
I like Gold Rush. It's a good show. I'm like, man, it's cool as shit up there, man. I couldn't do it. I'm like, no, but
Just panning for gold.
Nah,
out
the
there.
one that's better in Alaska is Ice Road Truckers.
dude, that shit is like literally like I think that's like fucking like snuff porn, bro. With the fucking in the fucking that shit is literally snuff porn. Like, bro, it should not be okay to watch people just die and fucking
No, the problem
Like
with
that-
those shows is like nothing happens. You watch 37 minutes of like commercials. I hate those shows.
And then like now like some intense close-up shot
It's
of
like, oh my
something that
God.
looks like maybe it's a crash,
And
but
it's
it's not.
nothing. It's like
But
he dropped his phone. You're like, oh
No,
my God.
Deadliest Catch was the one that
Bro.
do you remember that show?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
Yep.
stop watching
It's still
that
on.
show.
yeah,
It's
like 90,
still on.
it's like
Yeah.
20 seasons
Though
of that shit, man.
they
I know.
canceled crab fishing this year. Snow
this one-
crabs. Snow crabs, a huge population, like over 1 million, just disappeared. And whoever the organization that looks over that, they're like, we don't know
No
what
more.
happened, and so they
Damn.
stopped it. Probably, some event in the ocean fucked everything
Alright.
up. But anyway,
let's
all
go
right.
back. Let's go back. Let's go back. We get lost there. So
Other
yeah.
natural
So
resources.
yeah. So and then let's go with.
Well, we know this is the breadbasket of the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Food or fertile lands, I guess, is a resource in and of itself.
Yes,
So
yeah, so
Westlands,
that's-
southern
the most fertile land,
section, fertile lands.
And you're talking when you talk that you're talking more of like the fruits, vegetables,
Vine, yeah, all that stuff.
vines, grapes, like
Right.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine this is like, this is like
Yeah, this
Napa
fields,
Valley.
this-
It's just beautiful,
yeah.
just perfect.
Just olives and grapes.
Yeah.
So does that mean up here is like fucking Iowa, just cornfields and soybean fields? As far as I can
Potatoes,
fucking
Yeah,
see?
probably.
it makes sense
Yeah.
to me. And as well, I know against like unique fruits and stuff as well too, but I think it should be at least 2 unique fruits or vegetables here. But we'll get to that. But as far as resources,
I think that's probably too granular. Like that could just be in a D&D game.
yeah, because it
you know
exists.
what I
Right,
mean?
that's fair. So okay, so we have copper, tin, iron,
Gold,
aluminum,
Gold.
aluminum.
aluminum and platinum. So
All right, where's aluminum?
aluminum, I would
Aluminium.
depends on where you're from. I'd say be up here, right up here, right here.
In the so
Aluminium.
yeah, if it's in the Westlands, they definitely call it aluminium. Aluminum in northern mountain range. Because even
And
like,
yeah.
go ahead. No, you're
No,
right.
yeah. So I was supposed to. Platinum is in in the random mountains, in the random kind of pockets in the Eastern Archipelago. So they have platinum, but it is extremely rare. Of course, platinum's rare.
Yeah.
So they have iron bark trees, platinum.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Yes.
Which of these continents calls all pop Coke?
We can leave that to the Westerners. Leave that to them. They have been demoted to the.
I had to ask.
I'm
was a
one
good
of those
question.
people. I'm from Texas, and everything is Coke.
Yeah.
You order.
It's so wait. The
It's
first
so-
time you go there, it's so fucking weird because they're like, "Can I get you a Coke?" Absolutely. Well, what kind do you want?
Yep. What kind
I
of
want a
Coke do you
fucking
want?
Coke.
It's like, wait a minute, you said what?
It's like a Coke. Like and
But then they look at you weird if you're like, if you tell me you don't want sweet tea. So
Oh, I was just gonna say that I am an
Yeah.
iced tea drinker, but not a sweet tea drinker, and
Yeah.
I've definitely gotten. I know. See that look? That's the look.
Yeah.
That's the one.
What?
See?
I like both,
I've-
but diabetes. You know?
Sweet tea will kill you. Yeah, sweet tea will kill you. But I'm just saying this, bro. I went to Jersey one time, and the fact that these people, like, I said, give me some sweet tea. They gave me some iced tea in 2 sugar packets and some lemon. I was like, bro, what the fuck is this? This
Also-
isn't sweet tea.
Also, adding
that's
sugar
you making
to
your own sweet tea.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's got to
Ghetto-ass
melt
sweet
with
tea.
the
I know.
hot water.
Yeah.
I
It's
know.
not ghetto ass
My
sweet,
mom,
ghetto sweet
dude,
tea.
my mom was from Texas. I still have a shitload of family in Oklahoma. Like,
That sun tea hit different, dude. It does. That sun tea when they leave it out in the thing and the thing like that.
It just
it's
doesn't
probably
work
not
in
safe.
Phoenix because it just boils.
It evaporates.
I'm from
Dude.
LA. I order my latte with oat milk and sugar-free vanilla. So
Not the oat milk. Say it is, dude.
are you the one that when you order your drink, it takes you like 5 minutes to get the whole order out?
no, I'm a
Thank
grande
God.
sugar-free vanilla latte with oat milk at the end.
Thank God, that's not bad. I live in Minnesota. And there's literally people here that they sit in the Starbucks line. It's like I need and there's like 900 words that they use, and then I pull up. And I'm like,
See,
Coffee.
those
Yeah.
people live in just like
Same.
one little section of the West. That particular group is right there.
They're one of those guys, and you know who they are. They haven't. Some of them are on Twitter. Some of them are not. And depends on how you look at it.
What's crazy is when you roll into that coffee shop and I look at them and I go, I want coffee, and then they're like, what kind?
Just
Fucking
black.
coffee.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't.
a cup of coffee.
I am not. I don't care. It's black coffee. It's probably microwaved and possibly a day old. I don't care.
It works as long as it gives you caffeine. That thing. But okay, so
is that all of the naturally distributed resources?
No, because you need diamonds and stuff too, right?
Gems.
So,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
the
diamonds.
Southlands has nothing so far. We probably need to spread the love.
Well, they have iron.
They have iron.
Yeah, that's it. So,
I would say if they have iron, you'd probably get gems and diamonds in that.
Well, they got that volcanic area.
Yeah, so there'd be obsidian here for sure. That's for damn sure. And then there also be diamonds here too because of the volcanic pressure.
Obsidian and diamonds.
You probably would, because isn't there a volcano on that little like over here too? So you probably have at least a little bit over in this area too.
And gold too, probably too.
Okay.
So I've seen enough gold or something.
Island to right contains gold. Okay.
And also the eastern will also have pearls as well too. Eastern archipelago, they have pearls.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And all kinds of whatever else, shells and
shell and so you have that, and then the variety of precious gems. So rubies, I didn't think of the precious gems. Yeah, it doesn't.
Precious gems are usually just all over the place.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
but I would say that
if you're mining it, that would be a different story than them just being like sold. Right?
I would say the biggest diamond deposits is probably in the Southlands because they do have wealth. Because they don't grow stuff, so they have to be able to. I mean, mainly grow stuff. They have like
large diamond deposits. Cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the other gems, I mean, you can do whatever the fuck you do. I don't care about that. But as far as metals, I think that's all the precious metals that can be used for warfare and nicely like stuff, right?
Yeah,
copper,
tin, copper,
tin, copper, iron, aluminum, platinum. Those are the main
gold.
ones.
And aluminum, to be honest, like I'd be curious to see who could wield aluminum with this kind of technology. But I'm sure some people.
Hey, if you get a shard that's able to fucking use handle materials, minerals a little better.
To summon a microwave, to put it inside, hand it to the bad guy, and turn it on. You know.
Hey, shards can do a lot of things. Wondrous power, I guess. They can make a microwave too.
The replicator. All right, let's go back to our guy. So, where am I?
Yeah, those are mains.
Geographical
climate, are there
formations,
islands, raw materials, have life forms had influence on geographical features?
Fishing as well too. It will be in the northern too. That's a resource. Fishing, right? Fishing's one, right?
What was that?
Fishing.
I mean, with the amount of water, I'd say you probably have. It's just a matter of saying, okay, there's fish everywhere. You got such a massive amount of water technically from the map.
Here, though, I feel like in the northern right here.
I would say there's just fishing everywhere. Ice fishing. There's just different varieties of fish.
You just decide what fish you're gonna fucking throw out at the time.
I wouldn't even put that as a resource because the world is 75% water at this point. It would just be different regional fish.
That makes sense.
Like freshwater and.
I mean, we already know there's some rainbow fish that stick scales in people's chests for.
Yeah, they definitely have salmon up north.
Yeah. Knucklehead trout.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, no. Wizard. Hey, listen, I defended you a little bit.
Okay, so I think most of the geography and climate's kind of covered since the map kind of does it for us. Ecology and biology. Does the world have an ecosystem that is based on one that we have on Earth, or are there large differences? All plants grow are yellow. There are forests of glowing mushrooms.
I mean, there are different things that are unique to Detroit that's not on Earth. That's true, but I mean, it probably close to your map, like in the Southlands, right?
Yeah.
This is not Earth, right? This is different.
Yeah, so, I think the map kind of covers a lot of this stuff, so that's I agree. So the next one, this one's kind of interesting question: are the life forms a result of evolution, and is there evidence like fossils or has life developed during a much shorter period as a result of creation? So, in the creation myth, did all the life spring, or is this like a million years?
No, it's not
after?
a million years. No, it's not. It'd be a very short lifespan because at that point that means that humans have been around for billions of years at that point, like in a like conscious state, and they would be much farther than where they are now if that was the case. In my
So you're
opinion,
talking it's like 10,000 or 50,000 years from
between 50,000 to 10,000 years.
I'll put that in the cosmology. Happened. You said 10,000 to 50,000 years ago? Okay. No one truly knows, but that's a good range. All right, let's go.
How complex are the life forms? Simple. Very, very simple.
Kill
life on
stuff,
the
get power.
ground.
You got magic fish that put shards in people. You got talking pigs. You got
Sirens that killed one
Yeah.
of your crewmates.
2.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did jump over. Yeah, they're dead. Maybe.
Yeah.
They may be dead.
So we kind of talked about a lot of this stuff here. I'm trying to scan through these to see if there's any gems to pull out.
Oh,
So
there's a good one. Is there a true food chain? So is there other beasts and
You know what, John?
What's up?
I think. Hold on. I think right here, there should be dinosaurs. Big facts.
open the door, get on the floor?
I
Everybody
don't
wants
see
a
why
dinosaur.
dinosaurs couldn't be in the south part too.
I
There's
mean,
different types.
in general, but because it generally speaking has to be a lot hotter because dinosaurs have a lot higher body temperature than humans. I think.
Well, but they're
So maybe
well,
this
they're
place is
just
a lot
cold-blooded.
hotter. Right. So like maybe this area here is significantly hotter than the desert. So that's where they live.
Yeah, usually
That sounds-
deserts like that, like a high desert, is
Very
prone-
hot in general.
It's very hot, and then it gets
Very
extremely cold.
cold. So maybe like so I'm saying like maybe like this area here is for some reason just stays at a very hot temperature, like or whatever. Because like you're saying, they would just die at night, right? If they went to the desert, they would just
Well,
die.
Usually they bury
you could-
themselves,
what you
hide
could
under
say-
rocks, stuff like that.
Well, what you could say based on that map is that high desert is where the magma is pooled, leaving the land temperature, the actual surface land temperature, a lot warmer. That fuels the volcano on that west side of that island.
Well, volcanic activity just works with it works differently. I mean, it could be magic, but it could be like
That's
tectonic
what I'm saying. This is a
activity.
fucking world you're
You're right.
building. Like
I'm-
it doesn't have to.
I-
but
I-
it-
I
like you,
said
that's
no, I
that's what
didn't
you
that.
could say to. He's like, here's your history and your geography lesson. Shut the fuck
God.
up.
My
Yeah,
bad.
I was gonna get that. Hold on, wait. It just works like that. Hold on, wait. I know, but it just threw me off.
I was just looking at it like if you needed to
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
it for
Yeah.
you wanting dinosaurs
Right.
there, that's
It was
how you
it was
could
it was a
explain
good comment. It worked.
It
It
could-
worked. Okay.
Yeah,
It
it
could
could
work.
have
It
like
could work.
hot springs or whatever too.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
like-
I feel like I was back in the Catholic school getting the ruler
Yeah.
slapped
My
across my
bad.
knuckles there, John.
No,
Jeez.
it's all.
My brain just shut up. I'm like,
Hold on, wait a
it's warming
second.
up. It can just be a desert.
he said, how does Max? How does that work? And but I do like the idea of that. Maybe here there's a lot of like seismic activity, and it is very hot here. So maybe like there is like a lot of kind of
Earthquakes.
hot shifting place, and because the dinosaurs are really very big, they can kind of handle it, and that's why no one's really been able to populate here.
Mm.
Now,
Well, I
that's
mean,
my thoughts.
and you can have like the sort of seismic activity anywhere there's like a major mountain range. You know that there
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
at some point seismic activity, and so it could just be it's a hotbed for it in that area.
So high desert, dinosaurs,
Yeah.
seismic activity, and then we said like volcanic, like kind of where these two areas meet. You're thinking, Jay, like where these
Yeah.
worlds kind of combine.
Yep.
Volcanic activity. I'm just gonna put in parentheses hot springs, magma vents, etc. And area where they meet.
Mhm.
The boundary. Okay.
Yeah.
I like dinosaur. I mean, that's cool to me. I think should be parts of the world where it's just absolutely wild. Like there's
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm
no
saying.
way.
It's got to be some like super like stuff, right?
People, it's like the Bronze Age. Like people,
Yeah.
it's
Like see
the
like
Bronze
oh,
Age. Yeah, they're
yeah,
the
fucking
technology
crazy
is not
shit.
very high in this world too.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like it should be like some almost like mythological because that's not mythological, but there should be some like supernatural, like preternatural kind of things that are just like beyond. Because if a creator god created the things, he didn't create them just just basically. He also created a lot of variety of stuff as well too, right? Because goblins, kobolds, all that stuff exists here. But it's like a different origin story kind of thing. So anything that's like different, I think we can kind of put it somewhere to make every place kind of different. Like example, right? In the north, what if were creatures live here, right? In the northern and there's like tribes of like these like barbarian berserker fucking were creatures, right? That live here in clans that hunt the raiders that pillage the buffalo. So maybe they're like cannibal air quotations. Like they don't actually eat the animals; they just eat the people that hunt the animals.
Well, let's do.
That sounds cool as shit.
Let's do each region and just kind of call out some of the native beasts and monsters, just like a little bit to give you an idea.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Southlands, we've got dinosaurs.
Yeah.
anything
else that's kind of
I mean,
like,
I
are
could
there
see
elementals?
Well,
Are we going
that's a
that
great
far?
question.
No, that's a little too magical, right? Because then it's
Well,
like,
that's why
I was saying like capybaras and fucking like, you know,
Gila
jackals
monsters.
and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
water
guess
buff-
that's a
wild
question
dogs and
I
stuff.
have because I know. So you just said elementals are going too far. So are you sticking to like beasts, monstrosities? Are like is
yeah,
undead
like
a
like
thing?
beast
Is-
monstrosities is like the cap, like past like
Mhm.
because beast monstrosities, and then there is just dragons, and that's the
Okay.
like hard cap.
Mhm.
And dragons work differently. I
But
can talk about that
they're
later.
goblins, so like subhuman type stuff. I
Yeah,
think
but
would
like-
also
like-
exist, right?
That blends into the monstrosity thing, right? Because they're because they're not based on humans, like as far as like
They're more humanoid than a dinosaur.
yeah, but werewolf creatures too are like more dinosaurs too. Like they're just like demi like what is subhuman without being racist? What is it like
Well,
is
it's
it demi-human?
kind of, yeah. I mean, there's like a subhuman is just less than. It's more of a derogatory
Right.
kind of. But
But they're not actually humans though, or like they
yeah,
can't breed with humans.
they would be
they're
like
not
human adjacent.
Yeah.
So
human adjacent. would be accurate.
I mean, they have consciousness, they have language, they
Yes.
they
have
have culture. They're
culture.
arguably, yeah.
Yeah.
But they definitely are not humans.
They're not humans, and they could be rare. They could have their own,
Mhm.
But
So like
we've
yeah,
already
so
come across
human-like.
goblins, so that's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they've got culture, they've got religion.
Yeah.
So are you talking things like if you want to take it from that standpoint, like orcs and trolls and getting into some of that type of
I think that's fine as long as it doesn't get into like just raw energy just fucking just rolling around or shit like that. As long as it's not like that, I think it's okay. Long as it sticks to flesh and bone is the main thing. As long as it's the flesh and bone and there's like no one throwing fireballs out their butt or something like that, I think we're okay. In my opinion. What do y'all think? I think that's-
no unicorns, Spartan rainbows. That's what you're saying here.
No, unicorns are definitely more natural.
No,
Like,
yeah, I like that. I mean, you can still have a variety of just different.
Yeah, you have a
threats.
vari-
But so
yeah.
there's no undead, there's no ghosts, there's
No.
no okay. So
unless they're created by a shard bearer, so they can exist.
but they're exceedingly rare and require like
Yes,
special
a
events
shard.
and stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then it would be interesting if you do have some of those like humanoid races, right? Like the goblins,
Because they can
orcs,
use
whatever.
shards too.
Right. Then but they would if they're rare, then they would be relegated to some of those areas where maybe are less hospitable to
Mm-hmm. Like
the rest
lizard
of the
folk, right?
people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like this whole area is just pure wildlands in my mind. Just dense
Right.
triple canopy
I-
jungle where
Yeah,
there's
dude,
probably small tribes of humans, but usually the
Right.
types of things that live there.
Are dangerous, man.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
was thinking the same thing with this island over here with this big ass fucking volcano on it. Like it would be
yeah.
if people were living on it, you'd have just people that were basically
Wild
relegated
man.
to the tips. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And they're certainly not the top of the food chain,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
100%
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, they definitely. I like that there's like some of these little empty bits here on like the coasts. Like that's where people would live, like humans would
Mhm.
live. The
Right.
further in you get, it becomes a little more.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
get like wendigos and other
Yeah.
weird type
Yeah. And
monstrosity. So flesh and bone. So okay,
Flesh and
flesh and bone. And then there are some monstrous type races.
yeah. So I was saying here but I think here in the Southland, I think there should be lizard folk here, because they require a lot less water, and they don't need as much water, so they'd be able to live here. Especially, what if they like worshipped or kind of dealt with dinosaurs? I know that's people have done that, but I think, or maybe they hate dinosaurs. Like maybe it's like Dragonborn dragons. They just hate dinosaurs. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
right now we're just on
Well,
the
do you want
ecology and
to
biology.
get into these
so
more humanoids?
there's
I said, do you
there's a
wanna get
culture
into
section.
More of the
Yeah,
humanoid
yeah,
races like that,
we gotta-
lizard men and like.
We got to move forward.
Th-
That would
th-
be on
this
the-
is more like what kind of biological creatures or life forms exist here.
All right, so
So-
let's go dinosaurs, lizard folk, right, in the Southlands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the north, we had
Werebeasts, humans.
and
Humans are
wargs,
everywhere.
and like large wolf wargs, the wargs, right? So you have that.
But then also like you said mammoths.
I said mammoth. Yeah, fuck it, we got some mammoth. I'm not sure who said it. I didn't say it.
I thought
yeah,
I thought you said mammoths. I
Yeah,
mean
let's have some
reindeer. What kind of
Yeah.
you know?
Reindeer, caribou, saber-toothed tigers, fucking
Moose.
Mammoths, moose.
We already know mermaids exist out in the water somewhere.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
but not that far though. It's freezing out there.
You get deep enough. If they can go deep enough
Yetis?
underwater, it wouldn't matter.
That is
Yetis,
true.
trolls.
Yetis, I think,
I would
should
say
be
I
here,
think
but
trolls.
trolls should be in the Westlands, I think, because that'd be a distinct thing. I think
Okay.
Yeti should be up there. Though.
I think that's a good enough. We don't have to like
Yeah, for everything.
but just
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thematic kind of idea.
right. So
what
that's
about
the north.
so that's the north? But what about the southern area in the Northlands? This is like a Badlands type. This is like a plains and rolling hills. Any other?
I feel like you could go almost if you want to go. You know, you could get into like a Bigfoot type monster. Like in that area, you can almost take the same animals. Just instead of it being black bears up in the snow or polar bears up in the snow, you pull it down to like grizzlies and brown bears down here. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you think of like a migration pattern, like
I guess.
there'd be a lot of the same
Yeah.
creatures. You just add
Saber-tooth
a
tigers
little
become
other
mountain
ones, like a
lions.
Bigfoot.
hey, centaur though. Centaur could be there as well too, right? Because there's no
Yeah.
trees there. It's open space.
Yeah, this area is supposed to be kind of like the plains because these are
Yeah.
mounted type.
Right
all right, I'll
here.
put centaurs in there.
Yeah, because they're like not like the weak leg. They're like the draft horse thing. They're bulky. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Let's have some. Okay, have a
Well-
little centaur there, and some griffins. What about those at?
They would like those mountains and trees up here, right?
Probably
Yeah, I guess some
griffins, hippogriffs, wyverns, like all of that type of.
Mm-hmm.
I think wyverns should be like a distinct place, right? Like maybe they want because they would just kill the other things that live there.
Well, maybe
right?
there's only a couple, and they have a massive territory.
Oh, okay. So
because even
so-
wyverns, they also kill
Yeah.
each other, right?
That's
Like,
true too. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
They-
okay. Yeah.
It makes sense. That's just the kind of area where they would just.
And maybe it can be like different kinds of wyverns, right? So maybe like these here are different than the ones over here. Because I think that wyverns would be.
There's probably
Am
a
I-
lot of carryover in a
Yeah.
lot of these things.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Okay, yeah. So this wyverns are there. Okay, that's fine. All right. So. Okay. So then it becomes like, what about kelpie? Is kelpies. Shout out to the Gaelic people are like right in here. Kelpies in here.
Kelpies are probably in most waterways.
Yeah, but like, what if like they're like really known? I mean, like probably, but like they're probably really known to be here, right?
Okay.
There.
Kelpies.
I mean, what do you think, Jay?
Known to
I mean,
northern.
Yeah, it would make sense. Also, I mean,
Lake
with
area.
talking about mermaids, you're probably thinking like kelpies and mermaids. Probably, I could see them being,
Mhm.
basically all sticking to this kind of territory, right?
Temperate.
Like, right in that archipelago, temperate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's more,
Mhm.
seafaring type. Like this is
Mhm.
probably this is inland lake, and then rivers, freshwater.
You're
type
getting
stuff.
salmon, and river trout and stuff like that up in there. Like if you want to get a little bit bigger, you can get into like, something with teeth. Like you could think of it like a pike, but more,
Oh, we didn't
bigger,
put
more- a
like
little bit more
alligators
monstrous,
in the
like-
Southlands. It's like, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. On the river, yeah, some alligators too.
Now. Okay.
Yeah, and they're like, like down toward the crocodiles, so like the alligators, whatever.
The
And those
big guys.
big
Yeah.
boys. Yeah.
It's a thick
All right,
ass
so where are we
wolf.
gonna put the ogres at?
Ogres?
The Westlands?
That
feels like
Westlands?
this
I
is
see
west.
like the west. Yeah.
And some of these like
I-
mountain, maybe there's like random little mountain range here, or, like
Yeah.
I can also see it being like Cyclops is up towards here, up in the little northern tip.
I
too,
do
like,
like the
if you
idea
wanna
of like
go-
maybe there's just a smattering of different giant folk or giant kin.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
got
and maybe they don't
Cyclops,
hate each other.
ogres.
Like, yeah, like they did, like they just all live here. They don't hate each other, or maybe there's
Well,
like
there's hill-
clans. Maybe.
Well, yeah, the hill giants are here. You've got the ogres
Yeah.
up here and whatever. But in general, yeah, this whole area could be just fucked, right? It's just
Yeah,
the
they just
giant
people just-
kin, and it's just a
Yeah,
ton of
it's
different. So
there.
Westlands,
Yeah.
mid area filled with giant kin, ogres. What are the two-headed guys called?
Ettins.
Ettins. Hmm.
Ettins, Cyclops, hill giants, etc.
Alright. All right. So what about unicorns or Pegasi?
Are you doing
I
celestials?
think you put
No. It's just they're just natural occurring creatures.
Okay, so the more animal version.
Then it's
Yes.
got to be down here in the plains. I mean,
Yeah. For
any
the
kind of
Westlands, yeah.
hooved. That's my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Like big
Mhm.
areas.
I-
to
I
run
could see
around.
it. I could see it. I could see it up in like this area of the north, maybe down to the southern end of the north, and out through even through like the west end of the
Yeah, I would
west.
definitely say the
Like
West.
over
just
here where it's
all
a
the
little less-
grasslands.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, basically.
And maybe the Pegasi just live in the mountains. Or near
even
the mountains.
I mean,
Yeah.
they can fly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but-
mean, you could even say it's down through here of the Southlands, down on these, but like just these bottom tips. Like there's a bunch of. You could almost think of this like it's Montana
Probably
with all the wild horses, right? like that.
other centaurs, like more like
Mhm.
Like minotaurs, maybe it could be
Well,
like minotaurs, right?
I think of like different types of centaur where it's less like the big hardy draft horse kind of big
Yeah,
bads, and
like
more of
stallion.
kind of like more like kind of a graceful like
Like a
fade
gazelle.
style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's less hardy or less like is less threats here than it is in the north, right? Because
Or also in the plains, it just you want to be faster and
Right.
lighter
Yep.
to avoid.
It's wide open. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably less. Yeah, that makes sense. So that. All right. So what about?
I'm just calling them centaurs light because I don't know. we'll call.
so
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Now, what about a hydra or hydras?
I mean, if you're gonna start talking about like a water monster ish, you're gonna
the
have to put them
archipelagos.
somewhere in the archipelago.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
but you could
especially
also have to like over here because this is like swampy, right around
Right.
here,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
you could even have it in this like little like mid oasis thing. There could be several
Yeah.
places where they would.
I
Yeah.
feel
It could
like
be
that's more
Lamia's
I
here.
feel like that's more basilisk though. Like
Jay, you're a fucking genius. Or Lamina. Lamia?
Yeah.
Lamia? There. But I do think that the Hydras or sea serpent, whatever, a Loch Ness monster, Loch Ness, whatever you want to call it. I do think that
Nessie.
Well, llamas are like a
like snake
a
people,
race,
right? Half
yeah,
snake.
a snake. So
Yeah.
maybe it's these jungle areas.
Or yeah, so you're saying move the llamas over and they just populate the jungle areas, including here,
Yeah,
right? They,
yeah,
or
because
just here,
yeah, if
Maybe
they're-
dinosaurs live here.
because they're sentient creatures with probably a culture, and
Yeah.
you know they're not beasts, they're not
Yeah,
hiders.
no. They
Yeah.
have their own culture and stuff.
And that, you know, they want to be in isolation, definitely away from the Southern Empire. Or
And their bodies are hardy enough to be able to live in a swamp like or like jungle, a dense jungle, because they're not as fleshy as a human.
cultures.
Okay.
We said
Okay.
hydras. Where were the hydras? We're like
I have no
globetrotting.
idea.
The
Yeah.
Eastlands.
Yeah.
Hydras.
Hey, Jess, give us a
No.
mythical creature you want to put somewhere.
Oh gosh, I don't know. You guys kind of listed all the fun ones.
Mixing up a little bit. Let's get some that's not common, because we listed all the common. I'm like, oh, let's go ahead and
Yeah, you got to get the
Thunderbirds. You know,
Oh,
be a better name than
yeah.
better name, but yeah.
What are the? Oh my gosh, what are they
Chupacabras.
called? Chimeras. I really those are
Chimeras.
fun. Chimeras are
Yeah.
fun.
Where do you want them to be?
probably in these mountain ranges in the Westlands. I feel like
Mhm.
perched up there, they can fish. They can scoop up people.
Mhm.
And I love the fact that it's not based on evolution, because that means we can get as creative as we want to get, because they're not based off anything. It's just the creations of out of deity's brain. Like, oh yeah, that's not good.
We haven't
Let's
talked
go
about
on
the Eastlands much. So the
Yeah, we need-
archipelagos, I
Yeah.
mean, islands. So they're probably seafaring,
Yeah, it's definitely
aquatic
like-
type.
sirens live there.
I mean,
Sirens
I think
live there.
I think you're gonna get a lot of that. You're gonna get the sirens. You're gonna get the mermaids. You're gonna get a lot of
Kappas.
fish. You're gonna get small lizards.
Mhm.
Like I feel like the
That's-
dangers.
I think of drowners from
Dangers,
freaking
yeah.
Witcher.
Yeah.
but I feel like the Eastlands, the dangers where the biggest dangers you're gonna get are gonna be the water, because the land masses are so small.
Mhm.
You're not gonna
Also,
have a lot
hippos
of land,
too. Hippos
but-
too.
but you're not gonna have a whole lot of like true land based creatures that are big. It's gonna be a lot like
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Well,
no,
or
but-
birds of prey.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm,
birds, yeah.
like a manticore maybe could be there.
yeah.
rocks.
you could- rocks.
Well,
yeah.
in all reality, you started talking about dragons and we haven't mentioned it. Maybe most of the dragon-ish or dragon-light, whatever you're doing, live in that. I don't know how you're running that, because you said that you got to think about, but maybe that's where most of them.
Because
keep
you
their
think
home.
some of these itty bitty little islands, like, are they livable? Like, can someone like, or is it just some of like the bigger, chunkier ones? That's where the settlements are, right? And then what's going on these little itty bitty guys that they could easily be taken over by one or two.
I think that's
creatures?
fair. I think that's fair too. I will say this, that dragons, we talked about it in session, dragons are massive. So like in D&D, dragons are big, right? But in Dethra, they're like hundreds of feet wide, right? Like several hundred feet. They're like massive
Well,
things.
the scale of this is, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, can it?
it's
Yeah,
like
it can.
15, 20 miles across these little islands.
Right.
So
Yeah, so they could
10
fit
miles, they
for
could fit.
sure.
So that's
That
the
makes
thing. Is
sense
like
to me.
maybe that is because they
Right.
want their if it's
And they can
be
fly across.
adjacent to
Mhm.
the mythos of dragons. Like they're gonna want their space.
Yeah, they want their territory. They can hoard
Right.
stuff there. And yeah, I think a lot of these are probably inhabited, but a lot of them are untouched. I imagine also the Eastlanders are kind of superstitious because they're seafaring people. They're like, yeah, don't go to Skull Island or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever generic.
Yeah.
Dragons
I
make
agree.
sense here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dragons do make sense.
I imagine dragons probably live.
A lot of different
Anywhere.
places. One,
Yeah,
they
the
could
type
they
of
could live
dragon.
anywhere. Absolutely.
yeah, because they're dragons.
just-
they're like
It's just like if
From-
you were, it feels like that's the big one. That possibly a
or
hydra, if you
wyverns
wanna
too.
talk.
Like wyverns
Wyvern,
here too, though,
yeah.
because they can fly, right? And they're probably a lot easier able to handle the high moisture, not in the water compared to like a griffin. Because if they get wet, they get heavier. Wyverns don't have
Right.
feathers.
Or we can create a custom. I imagine a wyvern that's kind of got that long pleated tail like an alligator, and they're like
So they can fish.
amphibious. They can do they dive. They go and scoop up a.
Do they have the big waddle like a pelican so they can?
And they have like a stingray tail. They have a stingray tail where it's like like 20 feet. They can just stab fish and just eat it. That's
we don't
sick.
we don't have to stick to the they probably are adapted, like flying to island to island,
that shit.
piercing.
Can you imagine if
piercing the
you're
water and like scooping up like a.
And if you're out there in a little fishing boat, you got no place to go.
You're
Yeah.
done. It's game over, man. It's game
shit
over.
out of luck.
Game over, man.
I'm gonna put amphibious wyverns.
Frog people too.
So-
Frog people live here too.
The frog folk.
So I'm
what
gonna
are
ask.
those little frog guys? They're so cute.
Kappa?
Is that
Apples?
what they? No. They're the little toad guys.
Oh,
What are they?
grun.
Yes, I love
Grung.
them. They're every picture I've ever seen of a grung. I think it's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Like a murderous psychopath, but they look great.
But they're adorable.
So I am gonna ask the question. Then, are humans? Because this is where this all started. Is there a food chain? Are humans like middle of the road in the food chain? Then
Yeah, they got to compete. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I think
It's-
humans probably should work the same way humans always have. They're highly adaptable. They work together. They
They're the
leverage
top, but they
technology.
still have like competition. That's
But yeah,
where, like,
one on one,
They-
one on one,
Hey,
we're going to
there's
get
no way
fucked
that
up.
you can. If you're gonna have mythical creatures there, no way they're the top of the fucking food chain. 200-foot dragon in a very small community. That
Well,
fucking
dragons
human
are
ain't
always
surviving.
going to be apex.
Yeah,
There's
dragons
just-
are the.
that's
the
not
top of
fair.
any top.
But
That's-
you're also not going to deal with one on a
Dragon
regular
Ball.
basis,
Hun-
usually.
Yeah, so
or alone.
True.
Humans
Oh, yeah, true.
are dangerous in numbers in that they can plan and strategize. So
and also we have more stamina than most other creatures. That's why that's why we're so deadly, because we just fucking out
Chase them down.
and then just So,
yeah, adaptability and ingenuity. I think it's hard to put us on a scale. Like one-on-one combat with a grizzly, we're fucked. It
two?
doesn't matter. Two people
But two
and we've
is
got
over.
prep.
yeah,
We're the Batman
done.
argument. We just
Yeah,
got
we're
prep.
done.
Yeah.
It's fucking done, dude. Like bear trap, stabbed with spear from a tree, you're done. I don't care how big you are. You get stabbed in the fucking foot, you're not climbing.
Yeah.
Looking
But-
at the ecology and biology, though,
right,
like
let me go.
after walking through all, we pretty much walked through almost all the rest of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it in that is kind of covered
Mhm.
with the
Also-
map making process.
Man-eating
Yeah.
plants are man-eating. I think man-eating plants in like Venus flytraps in the Eastern Archipelago. I think that's pretty sick too.
Oh yeah,
Hawk
like
people.
creeping vines and
Yeah.
poison.
Feed
Whatever.
me,
dude.
Seymour, feed me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Could that mean like every little place they got left is dangerous? Because I want every place to feel dangerous.
Carnivorous plants. I can
Hostile
spell
toad
that.
people. Yeah.
Cool.
Or frog people. Yeah. Wyverns. Sick.
All right, so now we're kind of in. This is the stuff that I like, is the culture bit, and let's check time. Should we take a break? We're kind of
We should take a break. We're like 40 minutes later. Done.
yeah.
Alright.
Let's
We're
take
good, we're
a
good.
quick 15. So
right,
we
we'll be
will
back.
be right back. 2, 1.
All right, guys, and now we do it live.
We're back.
So
We're gonna take a break, go on for like 20 minutes.
fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah.
We'll do it live. You know, ladies and gentlemen, where that's from.
All right. Well, we're not close to being done, but this is a great start, and I think also working through some of the ideas, Val, that you had, it's been good. Especially the creation. It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
so cultures and history. This one can go on and on and on forever. But let's start at the top. So, are you defining a present you're working on, a period in the world's history that's especially detailed? Where is it situated in the world history? So, timeline. Are there significant events that kind of led up to what's going on now, like a world war type of whatever?
So
a cataclysm?
I can. Okay, so let me just give you this isn't fully fleshed out. It's just some ideas. This is ideas. So for me, I think eras are defined by the most powerful shard bearer that made their mark on the world. That's kind of how
cool.
I'm defining it, right? So there is, I have a queen that I gathered 50 shards, and she was able to essentially kind of, I think it was a southern queen, but southern person was a queen. I don't have a name yet, but
Let's make one right now. We can call it her era. So Queen of the South. What's so she's
a Swahili name. All right, let's find some Swahili names.
That's a great idea. Each era marked by like the prominent.
Strongest.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The most. Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that's a great idea.
All right, Swahili.
Amina.
That'll work.
Amini.
Amini.
M-A-N-A. Sorry, M-A-N-I.
Mani?
Jesus.
M-A-N-A?
Amani.
Amani?
Amani? Yeah.
Amani? Okay.
So
that'll work.
Does she have a moniker or something like that? I just have Amani, Queen of the South, which
let's go with the Ironbound Emperor. And let's say she united the southern city states into the Southern Empire. I'll name something, but she united them all.
Is she the one then that created this prison island?
No.
So she created the Southern Republic.
Yep.
Okay. You don't have to tell it. I'm just
no.
On the timeline, like how many years ago did that happen?
This was I would say probably it was the last major era. So this is currently still era, but no other major prominent shard bearers have come to start a new era.
This is the current era. So,
but she's dead. But she's died. But
but
no one has.
No one knew.
No. Yes.
So what is 600 years, 500, 1,000? Like
not 1,000. I'd say at best somewhere between 100 to 300 years. So it hasn't been that long.
Well, let's pick a number. Let's say 250.
Works.
Happened. She lived and died 250 years ago.
Also, as well too. This is gonna continue good, but this is gonna be a spoil as well too. So those that collect shards also are aware of a unique fact as well too. Shards actually boost your vitality. So those that have shards actually live longer, significantly longer. Like anywhere from like 10 to 15 years.
Talking like Methuselah style?
No, not that long, but like anywhere like in it's random. It's not
anyone in the Old Testament.
Yeah. So it's like Solomon, but like it's not the exact same for the person, but it's anywhere between I would say like 5 to 30 years, depending on just whatever shard you pick, I guess. It expands your life, your lifespan.
So I've got the current era, Amani, the Ironbound Emperor. She gathered 50 shards, created the Southern Republic. How old was she when she died? Let's make it.
She had 50, so I would say probably like 200
to
250.
169 because I rolled a 1D 300.
169. All right, 169 years old, died 250 years ago.
Yep.
Cool. Let's work our way backward. What was the previous era?
All right, John. I don't have the previous era.
That's okay. Let's do it. Like
let's do it. That's
how
what
many
I'm
eras
saying.
let's do. Just
They should
a
be the
practice.
last five. The last five should be the only ones that probably are memorable enough.
For
Probably.
five in total.
The last, yeah. Like, including the Amini era. So 4 more.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good. Okay, so she was kind of like the Ironbound Emperor. I'm sure she did it with the show of Force, but at the end she kind of had like good intentions theoretically.
Kind of. So this is kind of the history. So she essentially was I guess a daughter of a lord of near these Iron Mountains here, like that. And that's where she found her first couple of shards, and she gathered them, and also as well, essentially by force conquered all of the Iron Mountains here, and essentially just continued to build her her armies and her empire, and just expanding and just taking over city state.
Can I ask this question?
Yeah.
She gathered 50 shards. Upon death, what happens to the shard? Is it still like a big chunky boy, or does it disperse?
like
how does that work?
No, okay, so they don't like actually. Okay, so they mold together, but they're not like stuck. Like they don't turn into one shard. They just kind of stick together. So what happened is after death, they don't like Dragon Ball Z shard. They don't. They just they don't do that. They just whoever. But what happened is that she passed them out to her. Like I think I wrote like 34 kids, and each of them became their own governor of these city states. So they're all kind of tied to her.
Okay, so
30.
So they've been
34
passed.
children. Well, I guess she was 169.
Yeah, and
But,
also
oh boy, that's a lot of kids.
34 kids. Yeah.
So you're saying she like broke the mass apart, handed it down different shards to different kids.
Yep.
Sent them
At the
out
end
on
of
their
her-
way to
to, you know.
34 children. That's good to know. It's
How
kind of
many husbands did she go through at 169 years old?
Roll a d10. I didn't get that far.
I'm just saying, like she's 169 if the lifespan 2. Damn,
I mean,
them are
but-
some
I would
old
do a
dudes.
2 plus.
But like, but her husband could also have shards as well too, though.
Oh
Sure.
yeah.
He could have extended his life as well. So.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And she could have married late, or
Yeah.
There's some twins and triplets up in there.
yeah,
Could
probably.
be.
Hey,
Or-
at least they got
You would-
around.
At 34, I hope she didn't go through labor 34
Oh,
different
times.
times.
I would be like, but think about it too, like, so the boost in vitality isn't just lifespan; it's also like physical health as well too. Like
Mhm.
she's a naturally like it makes you a lot because you have you're getting the vitality of a fallen
Yeah, she's
god.
got like 8 sets of twins or something.
Yeah, she's
Hey,
hard chick.
I don't care how much them shards vitality that I've seen
It's-
what happens.
Holy
in that.
shit!
No, 34 times. No.
No,
Let's-
she'd have quit.
She would have quit. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, she conquered around, guys. It's like childbirth.
Also,
it's fine.
the thought though is like, have children and spread, your lineage.
your influence.
Yeah, I guess it could be just a cultural thing. Like modern society, you're like, fuck, I can't afford that.
It's just much easier for men to do the
Oh, yeah.
spreading
Oh, yeah.
than for
Yeah.
the women
And that's
to
why
do
it's
it.
so significant, right? Because like
Yeah.
she literally just popped those out like herself. It's like she didn't Genghis Khan it, right? Just fucking shooting seed across the fucking
34 times 9 months. It's a long time.
Yeah, but she lived 169 years,
What's the math on that? Let's find out.
and she was having a kid at 70.
it's-
She was
And
pushing
fun
30.
fact, it's 10 months. It's not 9.
Yeah.
It's true. So yeah, I think
Well,
about
that makes
too.
it easy. That's
So-
340 months
So she
divided
was
by.
going to war. So you think about like she was going to war in armor, pregnant, fighting people and shit like that. Like that's
Yeah, I mean, in
that's
theory,
pretty crazy.
it
That's
only would
cool
have
as shit.
taken 28 years if she had one every year.
Yeah, she could have just settled
So-
down for a 30
her later
period.
years.
Yeah,
Like once she
just pop them
conquered,
out.
yeah, like
Yeah.
because like like I said, the boost and vitality, like, and she could have been having kids when she was like 90.
Well, that's a storied history. Yeah, it could have been 10 years
Mhm.
of conquest, 5
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
of peace,
Af-
having a few
After
kids.
the first 10, she just lays down and they shoot out like freaking machine gun.
There's a
bullet,
shard
like-
bearer with a freaking catcher's mitt.
You know, yeah. So that vitality thing, man, she could just pop it out like
now,
4 kids at a
okay,
time.
now that we like put it in perspective, exactly how long it would take. Plus, if we throw in some twins or triplets up in there, like it makes sense.
Yeah, it's got the fortified eggs and semen. Yeah. I think
Hey,
we got-
man. Hey, but it's been around for several hundred years now, so it hasn't. But yeah, so we got that. Done,
So okay,
right?
so
we got
any
one before that.
What are her just generalized character traits? Because we kind of know like what happened.
okay.
Was she well respected and loved by her people, or
she was feared. She was feared.
but
She was feared.
She ruled with
feared,
an iron fist. The iron
Absolutely.
bound emperor. Okay,
Absolutely.
Feared, ruled
Yeah.
with iron fist. I imagine usually when there's these historical emperor type characters that unify, it's usually through murdering
Yeah, force.
every other ethnic group or enslaving. So,
I mean, she definitely killed a significant amount of lizard folk and things like that. That kind of prowled and hunted around these people, the hunting caravan routes as well.
yeah.
So I killed a significant number of them. So they.
I mean that would be an easy way to unify a bunch of various nomadic tribes is by picking a common enemy
Yeah.
and
yeah.
like othering them.
Enemy
so
of the enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. That's it. Sweet. I like that. So
yeah,
what,
she sounds
what
cool
was,
as shit, man.
What was the previous era? So I'm assuming
Pick a different place.
Yeah, let's pick a different roll of 1d4.
A 1d3, you know, ignore 4, I guess.
Well, so just a
Plus
1d3.
Or 1d3.
Yeah, 1d3 works. North
Or re-roll 4s, whatever.
is a north.
Because I don't think he's
east,
got a 1d3
west.
physical
No,
dice.
yeah.
West. It's
Oh,
a 3.
west,
It's
okay.
It was a westerner.
To west. So, and we talked about how there's like the Council of Three. Maybe they were the people that led that era. Maybe they were just became such prominent shard bearers and collected so many for the Westerners
that
that
this
they
like oligarch.
that they made their own
I
era.
imagine just your classic religious inquisition style.
Yeah.
Witch hunting, this 3.
Well, do you think that those 3 then were also the ones that decided that trying to find the shards to put them back together would raise the god?
Or that, or
that could have been
Is
just
that like
a
the
giant
rise of the
religious
religion?
conquest. Yeah.
Yeah,
And now it's cemented even in this era because
it could have been a long era before that if it was
Yeah.
3,
Mhm.
right?
okay, so previous era, we're going to call this the era of 3.
Yeah.
Era of 3. Cool. Do we want names for these 3 prominent figures?
well, the names were the father, the mother, and I think the child. I believe correctly. I think some crazy name. I remember that's what
The
I
father,
called
the mother, and the child. Okay, that's their
Yeah.
moniker. What?
Yeah, the moniker. Yes.
Uh,
Names I don't have names, so but that's the monikers. Yes.
So who's the father, the mother, the child? Okay, I've got that. So who's the father? Let's get a name.
All right, Westerner. So Gaelic / Germanic. Heinrich.
Heinrich is a
Heinrich?
good name. Heinrich.
Heinrich. That should sound like he's about to take over the world sometime. Well, he did. He fucking led an era, so yeah, or was part of leading an era.
I want her to have a G name like Greta or Gertrude or
Not Greta
Grunhilda.
Thunberg.
Grunhild-
I
yeah,
think
Grunhilda.
Greta Thunberg.
Grunhild.
Grunhilda sounds lit. I like that.
Yeah.
Grunhilda. Yeah.
She's a. Yeah.
I
and
keep thinking
then
of
the child.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, but I think that's Spanish, right? Catherine.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
Latin. Yeah.
All right. Well,
And the son?
Is it the
It-
child?
Only because here's a good one if you want to go Gaelic, because you got like 2 Germanic, right? If you want to
mhm.
go Gaelic, you could do Ganir, which literally means son of the blonde man.
How do you spell Ganir?
That works.
Gayner.
That works. Also, we got to say. Also, we got to say as well too. Most of all Westerners have blonde hair, like the perfect.
That's why
race.
that's why I was like, that's perfect. Son of the blonde.
They're blonde as
like-
shit.
So-
That's
the previous era is called the era of 3. We have these religious.
oligarchy. Theocracy,
Yeah,
right?
this theocracy led by.
It's an oligarchical theocracy.
Yeah, it could be
'cause-
both.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be both.
Because the oligarch is that there's a group of leaders, and the theocracy is that they rule based on religion.
Yeah.
The oligarch is usually
This is why
wealth,
Justice
but shards is
This
essentially.
I
Just
feel
the
like I'm in class right now. This is awesome.
We're learning.
We're learning, guys.
You're
The more you know,
welcome.
knowing is half the battle. Shout out to G.I. Joe. All right.
Okay, so we have this oligarchical theocracy led by the father, the mother, and the child.
and then he's probably
How long ago was this? So current era started 250 years ago.
And then that was for 169 years, 100
before that.
whenever she started doing it, right? So,
Was that 409, something like 419?
mhm.
well, like that's concurrent, right? Because if her era started when she started conquering, so it'd be concurrent. It wouldn't be like after. It'd be
We
like
said she
while she's
died
alive.
250 years
250.
ago.
She died 250.
Oh,
She
yes,
lived
yes,
169.
yes,
so on
yes,
the
I'm gonna-
high
So if
end,
she started at like
419.
20 or whatever, right?
I forgot. No, you're right.
so
You guys are all
call
right.
it 300 years ago just to make it
got it.
easy.
Yeah.
You're right. I just forgot that the died part. Okay, so
So then it would have ended 300 years ago because the new one
Yeah.
would have started. And so
Right.
then how long before that?
Mm-hmm.
let's
What do you want to roll?
AD modifier looks gonna be kind of fucked. Let's do 1D 500 plus 450. That sounds right.
484.
All right, it's right here. All right, so hers was 300.
You can round it up, call it 500.
Yeah, you don't need. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works.
Okay, so era 3, this started 500 years ago, 500 years previous to the other era.
To the
Five-
end, yeah. So
Yeah.
they ruled
Yeah.
for 500 years, 300 years ago.
I wish
so
we had,
we're
like, a
800 years back.
800 years back.
We need a timeline, guys.
Yeah, can we start with the first era, and that's like 1 BC or whatever, 180? Just to keep-
We need.
Okay.
All right.
You want me to roll to see who was the first one?
First era.
Because I was working backwards. This is
Yeah, we
And,
should-
and if you're getting to that like 8, now we're talking 800 years back, maybe 4 instead of 5. Do the last because human memory wouldn't have gone back that far.
I see what you're saying.
They
now,
could have
'cause,
written, but yeah, I don't know. I imagine the Westerners would probably keep it a written history.
because of how close they are to their communal. So they,
Because if we're already talking 800 years back,
also, as well, too, to keep in mind, like people also live, like people with the shards also have a lot longer to like secure their legacy through like monuments, through writing as well too. So like in our time, like people would just die, so like accomplish a lot and then die, like like 30 or 40 like that. But like I said, she lived to be 169, so she can actually have like physical monuments of her legacy right there, or like people write stories about it, or whoever. So
Yeah,
I
think
so that's
yeah.
also a factor too.
I think there's got to be like the
mysterious area, right?
modern
the
area
fucking-
or the prehistorical where it's just like word of mouth type. Probably the first
The
and
first-
second
yeah,
era is probably
Yeah.
in that where it's like
right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. 100% agree with that.
All right.
All right, so let's do the.
You want to see who ruled first?
Yeah, and let's not do southern and east west.
and then we'll fix the timeline stuff after.
Yeah,
we can
like,
retcon that stuff.
We can hash that.
afterwards.
We can hash that out.
I rolled a 2, which I think was northern, right?
All right. So the first hit was a northerner.
Cool.
All right. So what did he do, John?
That's
Jess?
that could actually fit kind of cool. Like northern was the first, but then they fell off afterwards.
well, maybe I mean if it's the first major era, then he's the guy who figured out that there was power in the shards to begin with.
Yeah.
That's
He wouldn't have even
true.
needed that many to be like,
That's
hey, I could do cool
true.
stuff now.
Yeah.
True. If he had like 5, if he had 10, he'd just be a fucking demigod.
Shit.
Honestly.
Well,
Think if it's at the beginning, he could probably have 1.
Yeah. Think of the
It could
so
be a rare shard. Too,
we want to think
powerful.
about the culture a little bit. These are nomadic tribes.
That
They're
war.
kind of like the Khans. They ride wolves, like dire wolves. They live in a harsh climate. I mean, I don't think any of these people are probably good people. I imagine like a
No,
Genghis
no.
Khan type
Yeah,
figure.
or like a sort of old Viking Jarl situation, right?
Exactly.
Where like technically all of these different regions work independently, but then there's like that one guy that like settles disputes because he's like more highly regarded.
Like a
Um,
monarchy kind of
yeah.
thing, right?
yeah, or but like a pseudo monarchy, right? Like
Oh, I
it's
see what you're saying.
not, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
he's
where it's
Very
he's like some
loose.
It's
sort
not
of
official.
venerated,
Very loose monarchy.
yeah,
The
like a
strongest of the strongest.
just sort of more highly venerated, more respected. Like he somehow has like the
Mhm.
wise man shaman type.
well, it'd be the a
Right.
show of power probably. Like they're feudal like clans maybe,
Mhm.
and he's like
So maybe,
just
yeah.
maybe it's like making people bend the
Maybe
knee, like swear fealty type of.
that, yeah, that, or maybe he defeated the centaur tribes that were attacking. Maybe the centaurs
It could be,
united.
yeah, it could be a hero of his people.
Yeah,
type.
like a hero king. Whereas like the Ironborn Prince, she's not a hero. She's just a unifier. He
Mhm.
just killed a lot of stuff, and people just like, yeah, you're the greatest guy ever,
Oh,
kind of thing, right?
what? Yeah, what if it's? I'm thinking like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Of the first
Baratheon.
men,
Rob.
of the first men, like even before he is of the first
Oh.
men. He's the first person
I
to
see
tame
what
the
you're
wilds
saying.
and
Yeah.
claim it for
Targaryen.
mankind.
Mhm.
Targaryen.
Where they break whatever the wilds are. This
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
the first
Yeah.
person who tames the wilds, the monstrous
Mm.
creatures.
I see.
And
Like
so he's
like
a
the first
hero
person,
king.
like he's like the
Right.
person that sets up the first like true civilization. Like
otherwise-
the first
exactly.
Ever
bringing
play
people
Skyrim?
together.
I mean, not ever play Skyrim, but like,
Yeah.
Asa Yeastramore that take the 500 men that conquered,
Yeah.
they killed all the snow elves. and
Yeah,
he
so
fucking
Yep.
we can call it maybe the first kingdom of men or something like that. where it's-
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we know that there are other like there's like giant races and things like that. Like there are all of these other like creatures that could pick off little groups of nomad without much hassle. And
So maybe they united under
he was the
him.
first one to
Yeah.
like
Make a kingdom.
claim a king, yeah, for the humans.
Maybe he is the first one that was truly like intelligent to say
It's kinda like
we
the
can fucking
Prometheus.
outthink them. Yeah.
It's the Prometheus. They get the gift of fire or whatever it is,
Yep.
and then they wield it
Yeah.
to tame the world.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
sick as shit, man.
Yeah,
And then
which is
that's
cool that
the
it's
start.
happening in
Era
that
of-
like snowy where it's like
Yeah.
awful and like sort
Harsh,
of a
yeah.
miserable,
The
harsh
era
environment.
of man. Or
The
human,
first
whatever
kingdom
they call
of
it.
men. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
and then
era
this
of man.
starts
That's
all of
cool
the eras
shit.
because
Yeah, because they showed everybody how to do it, how to actually like.
I think
you know,
somewhere in the middle there should be, because this is all human centric. I think somewhere in the middle there should be like some monstrous race that got
absolutely.
one and fucked people
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
for like
but
a
because
thousand
they can
years.
use stars too,
like a
'cause,
Dark
you know,
Ages type situation. So
yeah.
all right,
It could.
Well, that
go ahead.
could be the second era,
Yeah.
right? Like you
The
man
Dark
grows,
Age.
right?
Now they figured out that there's power in these shards, and
And
you've
then-
got these like
Mhm.
runs from these
Mhm.
different groups
Well-
to now gather them.
And in my head, I'm also seeing it like maybe the only place that was quote unquote like populated intelligently besides the monstrous races was the north. That's where a bunch
It's
of the shards
uninhabitable.
possibly fell, right? Then it was the Dark Age, and
Mhm.
everybody scattered. They figured out how to build boats. They figured out how, and they scattered, which then started the South, the East, and the West.
Well, see, like if it was like a longer timeline, sure, because then everybody would
Yeah.
look like Northerners, though. That's the case. Everything would look like Northerners because they all be the same complexion, right?
I think it fought like a Dark Age immediately following is probably too soon for like a true established. It could be maybe the era after or something. Either way, well, let's focus on the first
I mean,
era.
but you could say that the first era is 500
That's true.
years.
He
The
could
second
be-
era is
A
the dark era,
2000.
right?
Yeah.
2000 years,
Yeah.
and then by the time everybody
Oh.
scatters, you have evolution over 2000 years of
And
in the south, in
you
the
know,
desert,
I
the
see what
melatonin building up,
our
and
evolution can be wonky. It does
Yeah.
not have to be like
Well, yeah,
uniform
2000
millions of years.
Well, let's
No,
okay.
it's not. It's a drop in the bucket.
Let's talk about
But,
the first era. So we call it the first kingdom of men. Who is this guy? What is his name?
Well, he's northerner, all right. So who wants to name him? He's a Mongolian. I was about to say Lee Chalon from Tekken, but I don't think that's Mongolian.
Let's see if we can find some
Is
cool
he?
names.
I think it's from Hong
male?
Kong. I think it's Hong Kong. I think it's British.
Oh, hey, this Batar means hero or heroic figure.
Batar.
Batar.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So what was his moniker?
The Hero King? I don't know. Like people would go like, I don't know.
The,
Hero King's a badass.
or
name. That's
like
just-
hero of men if he's the first one, right?
True.
Like that.
Yeah, the hero.
But is everybody venerate him as the first one is the thing though? That's the question.
Probably like at this stage, I think so. I imagine like there's no
Between
Batar-
different
but-
culture.
But
I don't
Batar the
know.
Wrangler. Batar the Wrangler. Wrangling the wilds.
Because you got to think, right? Like, and the Westerners, they probably see this motherfucker as just like, but you know, he's not God. You know, they probably don't worship it. They probably would call him the Hero King, right? Same thing between like, you know.
But again,
politics.
like if you look at it, like maybe there is not a west, east, south technically.
Well, each of these,
It's-
if these eras, if it's named an era, he had to have done something significant where it put his
Right,
fingerprint on
that's-
the world. So it has to be undeniable where the West aren't just like, oh, he was just an upstart. Like it has to be a
Right.
for real.
Mhm.
Well, that works still if you have so think about how the world grew even just in the actual world. Like people didn't know about other lands back in, Columbus didn't know America existed when he decided to fucking sail around the world, right? Like you can have that kind of idea where they think that this is only it,
expansion
and
it's always about power. Even so, it's like, okay, we got to make a name for ourselves now.
Yeah.
agree.
Batar, we're calling him the hero of men. Is that our moniker?
That'll work.
Okay.
And I agree because I think that's a badass thing.
So 100 AD or whatever, year one to how long? Now I'm just putting, this makes it easier.
It should be
instead of-
thousands of years.
it should be long. Yeah.
Like thousands of years.
Like-
probably
Because
like
it's him,
5 to
like they
10,000.
established that power of like, oh, there's power in these things. His generation of like, 100 odd years or whatever it is of getting everybody situated, but then that
is it passed down
continues.
his lineage? Maybe it's like,
for another 1,000 years or something, while everybody goes out and like claims the other lands
Yeah.
for man from
And-
whatever's living there.
I agree. Sad note, John, the monastery temple that we were talking about, I think that should be in the north, and it should be like a sect or something like that, based around a hero king, like a secret sect. Can
That-
you make a note of that? That sounds cool as shit.
Yeah, I'll put it in this
Right, because I'll forget, and then I'll actually run this.
monastery, hero sect in mountains. Okay, so hero men. How long did Batar live?
Not very long. He probably didn't have that many shards. Right?
I'd say you 80, 70.
Yeah, if that, because you guys think this.
Yeah,
is like
maybe like a 70 or 80, because he'd still live longer
Yeah,
than like
than
the
most people,
average,
the vast
right? So
majority.
80 he'd be ancient in their eyes.
Mhm.
And so from there, so we're saying this lasted 1,300 years. How many?
More than that.
So
like-
how many generations is that? Is there? How long?
Well,
is
if
a
you
generation?
imagine, okay, like
Should be like
call it
10,000
back in
years.
those times, what maybe 60 years is old. So
A
Call it-
generation usually constitutes 30 years.
Okay, so we chop that
Wow.
up 30 years. Where the heck is my OneNote? Where's the calculator?
so you're talking that's
I got
100
that.
years.
13,
At 1300, that's 100 years.
40,
100
it's
generations.
43 technically.
I just think it should be longer than 1,300 years. I mean, 1,300 years. To my opinion, I think it should be like a lot longer.
We
like-
can. I mean,
like
we can
in-
do whatever we want.
We
That's
can
Yeah.
do whatever
if
you
you
want.
if you
dude.
do 50 like how many generations do you
Yeah,
want there to separate?
It should be enough to where it's like a true myth, right? Like he did stuff, he would know of it.
Well,
but it
this
should
is
be
the
like
first era. We're not even at the second era, so this is just how long this one reigned. It still can be another 1,000 years for the second one. It could be another
Yeah,
1,000 years.
I was
for
just saying that I'm just saying that from the first to the fifth era, it should be like somewhere between 10,000 years, in my opinion.
Okay.
Okay.
So
In my opinion,
five
that's my
and
thoughts on it.
4 were already 8. Yeah, no, okay. So what if you made this like, okay, so he comes 80 years, he gets people together, he figures out how to conquer monsters, whatever.
Mhm.
Then the next 2,500 years is people dispersing and going to the other lands,
Building.
conquering, building, beating whatever was living there to like claim land for humans, finding more shards. So 2,500 years. And then after that 2,500 years, now comes a new guy who like, that's the new era, right? So it's like, you could do.
Well, that could be the monster. That could be like the monster era, though. That could be where the monsters realize they can come together, quote unquote.
Yeah,
I have
maybe
a
there's
suggestion.
another.
I have something too.
Shit.
Okay.
Maybe it's like the fucking dinosaurs, fucking meteors.
So, well,
Well,
before
slam
we
into
get
the
there, so
earth and
Batar, the
fucking-
hero of men, he's 80 years
Mhm.
old, 83 generations of. I'm assuming this is his family passing this down.
Yeah, and just
Sure.
Tales, like the Dragonborn kind of thing, right?
83 generations of family, conquering.
And it would be
rest
kind of
of
cool
the
that no
world.
matter where people are in the world, like west, south, whatever, like there's still like there's who like claim direct lineage back
Yeah, like
to
Genghis
Batar,
Khan
like
kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's like,
Was he up
you know,
north?
I-
Yeah.
uh,
At Hero's
yeah.
Blood. Heroes
83
Blood would be a
generations
cool
of
ass title,
family
too.
conquering the rest of the world. Simple as that. We can just keep that.
Yeah, Heroes
Yep.
Blood.
or 2,500 years.
All right, so this is my
Cool.
idea. Okay, so so what if, right? This is crazy. I'm a crazy guy though. What if the dragon seeing all these humans, or a dragon seeing all these humans use all these damn shards, seen it, picked up a shard and figured out, oh, this is what this does, and in his horde like that, he had dozens of them, and then he fucking sent the world into a dark age by fucking basically.
It would be like 5,000 years. It would be so. There's just nothing you could do, right?
Yeah.
Against a dragon with a
Yeah,
shard.
no, you know what I'm
There's
saying? No, you just
nothing you could
a
do.
dragon was. Can you imagine? He fucking. It'd be like Alduin, dude. You're fucking going over there. A fucking.
Right. But
But how do you
the
get out
question-
of that?
How
does
do
that
you
end?
get out? How
It
does
would
that,
take,
that-
like-
yeah,
He would
exactly.
die.
How does that
Yeah.
end?
No, it would.
He
take,
would die.
It would take
If
a
he
cabal.
keeps getting shards, how would?
But
Yeah, and
you
that's the
can't find
thing,
every
too.
shard. But you can't find every shard though. Like eventually you will die. You can't stay in that long. You can't expand your life that long. So if it's 5,000 years, he might live for 1,000 years. But eventually, no matter how much you scheme, he's not going to find every single shard.
But
Even if
what-
he found 100 shards,
but
you know,
Even with the magnetic pull of the shards pulling him, like giving him that
yes,
bit of
even
luck. Oh,
even so, you can't find
I'm-
every.
again,
no. It's a good
devil's
question.
advocate, dude.
It's a good
Well, what
question, but no one's
happens?
gonna find
So
every
what happens?
shard.
The dies of old age in his rocking chair on his giant shard hoard.
Mhm.
Is then there another era where it's just all out World War II over this shard? Like, because
Until the trim of the crop, right? That takes
Well-
that beats everybody else. Right?
well,
Wasn't
the
that-
thing is, like,
I
everything
gotta-
would be
I gotta-
concentrated.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta ask this question though. So if you're gonna have each era, like if the first era is the guy has 1 or 2 shards, then you're gonna say
Mhm.
this dragon comes in and gets whatever you're gonna say, 50 shards. Like that's how it sounds, and it might not be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
case.
You'd have
Mhm.
way
then
more
you're
than
gonna
a
say,
monarch.
okay,
There's no way.
Then you're gonna say
way
the
more, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
right. Then you're gonna say the third era they have. So you're taking these 1,000 shards and starting to clump them up, right? Like
Mhm.
why wouldn't there be somebody in these eras with how long they've been that realizes this, because this
But
knowledge
there's a
is
clump
passed
of
down.
50 shards in a mountain.
And go fuck-
Yeah.
Yeah, and go like try
No.
and get these.
Example. Okay, so the dragon clearly would have people that serve him, right? So when he passed away, the people that served him would indeed fight over these shards.
That's what I'm asking,
So,
is, like,
so
how
they
does
wouldn't
it break
be in a
up?
mountain. So that's what I'm saying. So they wouldn't be just trapped in a mountain. They'd be fucking fighting over them. And
So
then
it'd
the
be
people
an
that took them,
Alexander the Great situation. Where
yeah,
after,
after he dies,
it
it fucking
dissolves in
splinters up and
fighting.
fucking yeah. So
Okay.
then
That makes
so
sense.
so,
So
I'm
okay,
just-
so
yeah,
era,
that-
era 1, Dawn of Man.
Yep.
Era 2, Age of Dragons. 3, So how
Whoever
do
rises to the top from that. So after probably 1,000 or so years of fighting to see who'd fucking like become the guy or the chick, whatever like that, somebody rises to the top and stabilizes the world, right? Or stabilizes a
I would
large
say-
well,
part
would
of
that
the
make sense then to have that three, that the oligarchy, because that would make sense
Yeah.
to put them there because they would be able to do that and unifying people under a shared sort of religious flag, right? And like
Mhm. Conquer
that
the
is
world
a-
and what if the third era
so
isn't
the third era is the dark
It's the
era, the
third-
second era is
well, the third era is just
something different.
World War II. It's
Yeah.
so many
and then
factions
and so
fighting.
then four. Yeah, so factions and no one really comes
God,
to power. It's just
over
fighting.
the dragon horde
Yeah.
in hundreds of years of just infighting.
And then so then
feudal,
and
shift
then
of
and
power.
then
four it
come
would be
together
the
for
three,
four.
and then
Yep.
5 is the
Amani.
iron.
the modern
Empress.
era or whatever the current
Yeah.
era.
Essentially, what we're sort of quasi ending.
I know
right now.
we're getting close. Just so I have times. So first era is year 1 to 2500. Age of
Mhm.
Dragons. How long are we talking? Like
1,000 years.
1,000 years.
It's got to be longer than that if you're saying like 10,000 total, right? Because we're at 800 we were at 800 for 4 and 5. So I could see
I
you
think
could
we're
see
gonna
the
have to
dragon era
retcon.
being.
I think we're gonna have to retcon some of the
Time
the
you
times
can
'cause
you
they
can
don't make sense yet.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
mess with the times, but I think as long as you guys have what they are, and then you can play with the numbers
frame?
a little bit. Mm-hmm.
So second is dragon, and then the
Dragons,
third
third
is
is
time of war.
Chaos, dark times.
Yeah.
4 is the 3. 5 is Iron Empress.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call it like the world shattering or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I've got notes. We're
That's
not going to
awesome.
finish it out. It's a pretty sweet situation we've got so far. We got way more history to the world. And now we can role play to it. I'm sure Val, your brain's probably spinning just different things you can kind of integrate. So.
And then
well,
just don't commit to anything
Yeah.
in games yet. Just like be a little wishy-washy with time periods. Like it's fine. You can fix that later.
yeah, retconning and stuff, but
Retcons.
well, to the audience, we wanted this to kind of be a realistic idea of what this stuff looks like. I think sometimes D&D tutorials and videos, they paint with these wide brushes where it's like, conceptually how you would do it, but not the actual act of doing it. And so hopefully you guys had a good time watching us, hanging out with us. We will see you next week. And
thanks for Jess for showing up. We appreciate you here.
Jess, thank you.
I
Yes,
had
this was
so
awesome.
much fun. This is great. Thank you.
All right. Do you have anything for the audience, Val? Before we sign the heck
We're
out?
gonna be back to your schedule of programming next week. And look for it on the horizon for some new stuff coming. So we appreciate you guys. And hope won't be the last we see Jess. Super cool, and we appreciate her for stopping by and man, big help. So thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Have a
And
good night.
with that.
See ya.